We are live, everybody. Welcome back. PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you listening out there, whether you are live or whether you listen to this later. I hope you all had a fantastic day. Mav and I are back after a short break. Last week was absolutely insane. Miss being here with my brother. But we've got a lot to catch up on. Mav has been beyond busy in the background, as you guys probably have noticed. Myself, as always, have been dealing with real life stuff as well. So we are here to catch up on all the good things happening in gaming. And let me tell you something before I get to Mav, real quick. We've been hearing a lot about no-fly zones lately. Guess what? Here on PM in the PM and across Fun Speculations channels for sure, on Living Split Screen, on almost all the shows I'm on, I can say this confidently. This is a no hype killing zone, okay? So if anybody wants to jump in here and try to kill our hype for what is happening in this gaming industry right now, that ain't gonna happen here, folks. This is a safety zone right here. So chat, everybody who's dropping in here, anybody who's listened to us later, let us know whether it's in the comments now. Let us know whether it's in the comments on YouTube. Let us know what you are hyped about. I don't care what it is, okay? I don't care if you're hyped for Starfield. I am too. So is Matt. I don't care if you're hyped for Wolverine, which we probably aren't going to see for about 3-4 years, okay? Don't care. I don't care if you're hyped for the brand new Kirby coming. Whatever you're hyped for, stand up and be proud of that hype. You're allowed to be hyped, even if you haven't seen a damn thing from that game, okay? Don't let anybody in this community, these maniacs run around, these clowns, these ego maniacs running around here who think they speak for entire portions of this community. Don't let them steal that hype. So again, you are in a safety zone here, my friends, so enjoy it, spread the love, spread the hype, because that's what we're here to do. Talk passionately about what we love in this hobby. No matter what it is, no matter when it's coming, no matter who it's by, I don't care. I may not share your hype, but I'm not ever going to tell you to not be hyped, and neither will Mav. So just wanted to get that disclaimer out of the way because I think it's very important with all the nonsense going on around, especially Starfield talk these days. But before we get into all the goodness happening, let's get to this stranger that's sitting next to me here, virtually, of course. This guy, Fun Speculation, aka Mav, who has disappeared off the face of the planet, but reappeared just to do this show. Sir, brother, how you doing, man? Missed you a lot. Good to be back here with you. What's been going on, brother?
Yeah, man, it's been busy as usual lately, but I feel like it's been way longer than it has been.
It does.
Right. It's like, I mean, been gone maybe for like 2 weeks. It feels like 3 months. You know what I mean? It's just it's kind of weird, dude. It's like when you get so used to this routine and when it means that much to you, right? And then you like are kind of forced to have to take like a break, even if it's like a week or 2 weeks or whatever. It's like, man, it's like those days, it feels like it's such a distance away from everything. But so it's good to be back. I hope that you guys enjoy what we're going to be talking about today, because we got a lot of stuff I'm catching up on this stuff, just like some of you maybe. I'm not sure, I'm sure a lot of you actually in the chat now are actually going to be more caught up than I am right now, because I haven't had a lot of time to watch a lot of stuff and things. But man, I am super hyped for some of the obvious things that we've seen and some of the bigger news that we've gotten, and I can't wait to talk about it all, dude. Still played a little bit of Elden Ring this past week. I was able to stream it like twice. I streamed, I think, about 7 hours worth of gameplay, and I literally got through one checkpoint.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. The castle is kicking my ass. Okay. And I heard somebody say, like, what castle? There's like, I'm like, what do you mean? There's more than one?
There is.
Like,
yeah,
I was like, oh no. Okay. So the first one, after you beat that migrant person. So yeah, but I've enjoyed that still. But other than that, I haven't been doing a lot. I haven't been doing a lot of gaming. Kate's been really into the GTA update.
Yep. Part of the problem. But
Yeah,
again, Caitlin, I saw your comment in there. You were allowed to be hyped, girl. I never
Yeah.
told you not to be hyped. I just told you you're part of the problem why we don't have GTA 6. That's it.
yeah.
But you can be hyped all you want. I don't care. Play that thing. Okay.
I will say honestly, I'm pretty impressed by it. Like it's not like mind blowing, right? It's like, oh, just not like tons of new stuff, but like it's the way to play the game. And if you're somebody that is playing the game a lot, then it was worth for me, I think it was worth the $20 that it was on sale for, right? If that's the only avenue. I think it should have been free, right? It should have been free. However, like if it's something that you like to play a lot, I can't imagine playing it without that update now, because it is actually really solid frame rate and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Graphics are a lot better. So she's been really enjoying that. And but yeah, man, dude, I'm hyped for the show. Thanks to everybody in the chat for hanging out with us. It's good to see that we still have an audience, you know. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Love all of you. All the channel members, everybody that takes part in the channel and chats and views and shares out our stuff. You guys rock. Thank you so much. Pong, we got a lot to talk about, bro.
Yeah, man. It's been a heck of a week, a couple weeks since we last got together. And again, what a great time to be a gamer, man. I know a lot of people, you know, always live and die by the big news, but man, we've got a lot of good, solid little news. We had State of Play from Sony last week. Of course, we had the Hogwarts State of Play today, which I know you have not had a chance to watch, so I'll kind of carry that one. We had ID at Xbox just 2 days ago, or yesterday, I should say, which was absolutely incredible. We get brand new Starfield behind the scenes Biodoc, whatever you want to call it, that they're doing, which, bro, we're going to talk about that. That's going to be probably our main topic here, because man, oh man, every time I think my hype levels can't get any higher, along comes Todd. That man just does something.
It's this way he talks about these games too. It reaches you like your gamer like nerd levels inside. It's like, oh, it's what I've always wanted. Talk more, Todd.
We can always use more Todd. That's for damn sure. Todd can have as much screen time as he wants. Okay. Look. Otherwise, I have been all over the place playing games again. Of course, Elden Ring is still in the flow, but what I've gotten to the point with Elden Ring, I'm about 55 hours in, level 143 or so.
Yeah.
What I've gotten to the point with Elden Ring is that I really need big blocks of time to sit down. Yeah. I can't. I have a hard time with that game, even though it's easy to do, like to sit down for an hour or two and bounce around and you know, maybe kill a boss here, kill a boss there, or go do some farming or whatever the case may be. But for me in that game, I really need to immerse myself. That's where I've gotten to at this point. So I've kind of slowed down on that because during the week, I don't have as much time as I normally do on the weekends. So Elden Ring, I've hit a night or two here. Otherwise, I've been back on Cyberpunk. Now, that is a game I could jump into for an hour or two and jump out at any time. I am rocking and rolling. I think I'm down to the point now. I have every single side mission done. I've cleared the entire map at this point of everything. However, that game being what it is and how much I love it, one of the reasons why is because you can discover things that you didn't even know. I went back to a spot I hadn't been back to and saw a guy who I met very early on in the game, and I thought I had completed all of his missions. Well, he was involved in something completely different. Well, not completely different, but kind of completely different in a situation, and all of a sudden that started a whole nother mission that was not on my map at that point. So that's cool, but I think I'm getting to the point now I'm going to start running the main stuff. I think I've got maybe one or two more side missions to complete there. But I've been doing that. Otherwise, NBA 2K22, as always, rocking my team domination mode. I have got my squad built up. They got this new dynamic ratings cards, Mav, which they call them dynamic ratings, which I didn't understand when they first launched, but they adjust as the season goes on.
Yeah.
right? So when
Depending
Carl
on
Anthony,
how they do
how they do, but they're still not the best cards. But what happens is, right? So all of a sudden, Carl Anthony Towns the other night goes for 60 and 17. Well, that bumps him up to a dark matter card. Well, that crashes the entire market for his card.
Right.
Because now everybody, because later on, if he doesn't keep going, they could drop him back down again, right? So I picked up dark matter cards for like 12,000 MT the other night, which is nothing. Those usually go for between 100 and a million, depending on the card of MT, 100,000 and a million. So I was picking them up for like 12 grand. So I got my squad built up. I am dominating the AI. Again, I don't play online like all these other sweaties do. I just can't stand the connections. But domination mode has been really, really fun. So back on that kick again as well. As always. And then what else have I been playing? I know I've been trying some other games that just dropped in the Game Pass as well. I have not played Tunic as of yet. Demo made me realize it's a great game. It's a beautiful game. Demo made me realize
Zelda for you?
Yes, it's too Zelda for me. But being that it's in Game Pass, I am going to check it out. I'm going to give it its fair shake because the demo is a demo, right? And from what I've seen of screenshots, there's a lot of variety in the areas. It looks gorgeous. I love the little fox dude. He's cool. So I'm going to hop into it, but that's on the back burner right now for me. Otherwise, looking forward to Tiny Tina's Wonderlands next week. That is the game I'm going to be hopping into. And then, of course, Crusader Kings 3 the following week as well. I've got them both pre-ordered, the biggest editions. Those are my two main games going forward until the summertime. I cannot wait. Crusader Kings 3, they're marketing with T-Pain.
I saw that.
Bro, like normally stuff like that makes me cringe. I'm an old dude, so normally stuff like that it doesn't hit. Those with T-Pain are absolutely hilarious. I was laughing out loud at work. Such a great job on their marketing. But that's going to be a grand strategy game. So when that hits, and everybody asks me what I'm doing, chances are I'm going to be trying to take over Europe. So it's going to be
trying to take over Europe with autotune on?
Not with auto-tune. No, I will not be doing the T-Pain auto-tune. No. So, but yeah, no, that's what I've been doing. But like I said, just so much, again, something for everybody out there. That's the greatest part about this. Even if you have not been in Elden Ring, you've probably got 5 other games. Hey, look, I didn't even mention Guardians of the Galaxy. I started Guardians of the Galaxy. That dropped in the Game Pass, right? Yeah. Man, everybody was right. Great writing, funny story. Again, I'm not into the whole Marvel thing. So it wouldn't have been a game that I would have bought unless it was on a deep discount, but it drops in the Game Pass. I started playing it. I put up a couple hours into it. It's a great game, right? I understand why Marvel fans and some people consider it a game of the year. I totally get it. Would I personally? No, but it's a fun game and it's in Game Pass. Hey, my budget's safe. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So what a great time. But let's start here real quick with today's news, Mav. And I know you're not going to have a lot to say about it, but we'll get into some stuff that you probably will have a lot to say about here shortly. So anybody out there who's paying attention knew that the State of Play Sony was happening today. And you know what? Before I hop into that real quick, let's find out who's watching us right now. We've got almost 40 people live in here right now. So let's give some shout outs because it's been 2 weeks. And you know what? I missed you all. So let's start at the top here. Jasper Gaming, Debbie Downer, the lore master, Elden Ring extraordinaire himself, the man, the myth, the legend. Jasper Gaming is in the house. Steel Rain, my brother from another. I miss you, sir. We
y'all
have
didn't
not
have
spoken
living
either.
split screen on Saturday either. Last week must have been crazy for you.
I had one show last week, man. One.
Wow.
Yeah, one show. Crazy time. Steel, awesome to see you, brother. Thanks for dropping in, of course. And I can't wait until Saturday morning to get down and dirty with you. Pause. All right, Geezer Prime is here. Artie, it's good to see you, sir, as well. And yes, Artie, I did get your DM. I have been too busy to respond. I apologize, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, the mic problems. have been something that's been dependent upon what we're using when we go live. It's been really weird, but I have been trying to adjust them. So let me know if they sound better tonight, please. Tony Grasso, brother, great to see you as always. Masshole is in the house. Maddie Byrnes, brother, always fantastic to have you join us. Shizno Elite, my friend, great to see you, sir. I'm glad you were hyped for everything that you are hyped for. I know you're one of those that never lets anybody tell you what to do. So good to see you, Shizno. Nix, of course, brothers in the house. Great to see you. Siki is here. Jesse B is here. You guys are all fantastic. Boogeyman in the house. Retro Nerd, thank you so much for joining us, brother. Rick Payne is in the house, of course.
He said he was hyped about dinner earlier.
Well, good, Rick. You know what? You can be hyped about your dinner. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a salad. Be hyped, brother. That's cool with me. Razor NZ is here. Thank you so much for showing up and supporting us. We appreciate you. Caitlin, beautiful as always. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the thumbnail. It is absolutely fantastic. Love it. Who else we got here? Who else is in here? Who else? Am I missing people? Mr. Joanna Dark. Great to see you, sir. Got to see you on Tuesday, finally, after a week off. So great to see you. Actually, I was 2 weeks off of Xbox Factor podcast. Great to see you, Mr. Joanna Dark, for sure. Ahmad is in the house. Who else we got hanging out with us? We got Eternal Umbra. Shout out to you, brother. Thank you for dropping in. Big Mad Mo is here as always, brother. I appreciate all the likes and shares that you do on Twitter. You do them a lot. Thank you very much, sir. Who else we got? General Spartan 27 is here. Did I miss anybody? Vic the Click. Vic, I've been watching your crazy drunk videos on Twitter, sir. Sir,
stop playing with people's feet.
Yes, stop playing footsie. Either that or just put down the phone and don't post that shit on Twitter. All right, brother? But I'm glad you're having a good time, man. It looks fantastic. I remember those days.
Nice toes.
Enjoy it.
Nice toes.
Yeah, exactly. Nice socks. Nice socks, brother. John Wolf, great to see you. Thank you for being here, sir, as well. Beautiful people, thank you all for showing up and coming back to PM in the PM, even though we had a week off. So to get back to what I was saying, anybody who's been paying attention knew Sony had a second state of play this week to talk about Harry Potter. That's right, Hogwarts coming out. And it was a big kind of first real showing. We've seen some stuff in the past, but this was the first kind of real breakdown of what we can come to expect from this game. And Mab, I know you haven't had a chance to watch it. We talked a little bit before the show, but let me ask you this. Let me give you this right here, Mab. From everything that you saw, and I don't know, I don't think you're the biggest Harry Potter fan ever, but no. I certainly think that you have interest in Harry Potter, yes. Or at least, you enjoyed the movies and whatever else. Yeah. When you saw what we had previously seen, what did you think this game was going to be like? Now, I kind of gave you a background, so it's kind of cheating, but what did you think this game was going to be like? What were your expectations with this game?
My expectations, it was going to be like some toned down, almost like school RPG simulator type thing.
Like Bully?
Kind of,
yeah.
And you're going to be just kind of going around and like talking to other kids and then like, hey, let's learn these spells together and go around and fly and play Quidditch. And then let's go do this and do this little quest that this teacher or professor gives us and take these worms over to this other person or some shit like that. I don't know. That's the kind of like things that was going in my head,
Yeah.
The houses versus each other and challenges and that kind of stuff. That's just like spitballing like ideas, right? So,
yeah, no.
That's kind of what I anticipated. And but then I had gotten trolled by some fake videos pretending to be a trailer.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, pretending to be trailers of this game, and I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be really bad. Right, but they were like taking footage from like old games and putting it in there. So honestly, it's kind of been one of those things where it's like, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter guy, but like I've always like kind of liked the movies. I've never read the books or anything, but I have interest in playing good games regardless of anything else, right?
Yes.
And I'm pleased to see that people are getting hyped for this because maybe it's going to be something I'm into. Like you said, Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I'm a huge Marvel guy, because of the marketing and everything that led up to that game, I wasn't hyped for it at all, right? I
Right.
was
Right.
I was kind of like, I'm gonna try it. Reviews came
Yeah.
out, the people were like it, but what was most important is people that I trust their opinions on played it, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is great, right? So I played it. Story is amazing in that game. It's one of those games that I think you're a few hours in, but the story gets better and better the deeper you get into it, right?
Yeah.
So games like that give me hope for games like this, right? Whereas, okay, I wasn't like as hyped for it, but maybe it's going to be something special, you know? So we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about what you saw?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and again, I talked to you a little bit behind the scenes first, but definitely be ready, Mav. I think that this will probably be something that you are day one in on.
Okay.
This game, because like you from the early stuff, I kind of had those same impressions that a lot of it was going to be about the school, that a lot of it, yes, you were going to be able to kind of create your own story within the Harry Potter universe, that they weren't going to focus obviously on Harry Potter or, or any of the other characters, that this was going to be your story. So I kind of thought, okay, they're going to kind of let you develop your own self within this world, which is every Harry Potter's fans dream, right? Is to have that kind of control. I know there's some people out there that would have liked to seen like the old style games that we got back in the PlayStation 2 era that were more directly based upon the books. But overall, I think most fans would love to live out their fantasy, their Harry Potter fantasy, right? So I kind of thought the same thing as you, that you're going to kind of develop yourself through the school, and it was kind of going to be that setting all the time. And then obviously they were going to have some stories within there that you were going to interact with and all that kind of stuff. No. This is a true open world action RPG through and through. I was blown away by some of the, and again, I'm not a big Harry Potter fan. I've read the books, watched the movies, enjoyed the books. But again, generational gap. I'm more of Lord of the Rings guy. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings guy, not a Harry Potter guy. However, still enjoy the stories that were brought to us. So I was kind of excited for this. But what I saw today really, really looked great. It looked fantastic. It's not just about the school. They've got a whole open outside worlds almost that you're going to be able to explore. This looks gigantic from what they said today and what they showed today. You're going to be going to all different sorts of places. You've got different types of flight. You're going to be able to fly on the Griffin and all that kind of stuff. And you're going to be able to go different places and explore new areas. They got dungeons in this map. They talked about dungeons specifically that you're going to be able to explore. They've got secret passageways and secret little places within the school, just like in the movies. They said the castle itself, the school itself is gigantic. And they added all the stuff in there, and they had to figure out how they was all going to be interconnected, but they got all these secrets within the school itself you're going to be able to discover. You've got loot, you've got crafting, you've got pets, you've got skills that you develop, you've got classes that you get to pick from as far as character classes go. This is a full RPG through and through, set in the Harry Potter world. So when you do that to me, I'm all in. Even though it's Harry Potter, even though it's not like normally like, hey, oh my God, my mind's blowing. While I was watching this, I was like, this is so cool. You're going to be able to use and decide map. And it sounds kind of like almost like a morality kind of thing. You'll be able to decide if you want to use magic outside of your schooling, right? So you can use bad magic, right? You can go down that road. Look, that is freaking fantastic when you start talking about that stuff to me. Plus, they've even got a whole, what seems to be a place within the school, I believe, or maybe it's outside the school, but they're even going to have some base building to it where you can find and create new laboratories and all sorts of things that will help you along the way. They've got shops, they've got all that stuff. Everything you come to expect from an open world action RPG is in this game. The graphics are sharp, crisp, looking good. color palette is bright as you would expect from a Harry Potter, matches the movies perfectly. The spells, the special effects all look really well done. Love the effects from some of the spells. That's always big for me because even when given the choice, I'm going to be a magic heavy character no matter what. And obviously Harry Potter, it's all magic. But this is actually set also, we learned today, prior to Harry Potter. So this is set in the 1800s. I believe Harry Potter is set in the 1900s,
yeah,
right?
I think it's like 150 years or something before.
Yeah, before, right? So they're going to have some different stuff that we, even if you're a fan of Harry Potter, you may not be aware of unless you are a lore master like Jasper and you know everything about Harry Potter. You might be surprised and find some things that you didn't know about, and it kind of gives a different view of Hogwarts from an earlier time. So I'm absolutely loving what I saw today. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think Avalanche over at WB has knocked it out of the park. Again, Avalanche, WB's Avalanche, not the Avalanche that's working on Contraband.
Again, everybody one of them needs to change their damn name.
Yes, yes. So, but I think they've knocked this out of the park. It's coming holiday 2022. Like I was telling you behind the scenes, Matt, for me, is it day one? It depends on date of when they're going to launch it.
What if it launches on 11/11?
Well, then no. That's not happening, right? That's not happening at all.
So they just give us a release date, or do they say
no? Just holiday
2022,
right? So, and they're going to have to, obviously, I'm sure they're well aware of 11/11/22 and what that means. I don't think they're going to do it then, but it depends how Starfield has grabbed me. If Starfield is everything we think it's going to be, which we're going to be talking about, then no, it's probably not going to be day one for me if it's within that first month there. Now if it comes out before then, maybe I'll jump into that before I jump into Starfield and fool around with it. But I will definitely be picking it up, which is saying a lot for a Harry Potter game. I just love what they did. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see more because the world does actually look really, really fun and appealing, even to somebody who's not a hardcore Harry Potter fan.
Well, so I'm sold just based on your interpretation of it, but I'm going to go definitely check out all the stuff I missed and see what I think about it. But I'm definitely more intrigued after hearing this. So, but it's gonna be curious. When is it? Holiday 2022 is gonna be insane.
Yeah. It's gonna be so loaded, man.
Dude,
there's gonna be
Starfield is such a massive game. It's like I will say this, like, the Harry Potter Hogwarts or whatever, like Hogwarts game, I could see it being later, actually, because for some reason, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I always feel like the Harry Potter movie releases were always around Christmas time. I could be wrong. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong.
It's a very Christmas franchise.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Yes.
It's always kind of like giving me those vibes, right? So I could see a December release for this. Yeah, I know it's not very traditional to release big games in December because you miss that Black Friday window. You miss like all of that, but just because of the history of this franchise and like the nostalgia feels of that, it just kind of fits with December, right? So I could see a December release for this game, and I think it would do well at that time because I don't think they should go in November, right? So I think they need to be in October or December.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because there's some big games dropping, and Starfield is, I mean, you're talking about a massive RPG there as well. And I don't want to have to choose between playtime between those at all. Obviously,
no.
Starfield's going to get that decision every day of the week, right? So, that being said, it doesn't matter because it is single player, right? So you can just kind of pick it up and play it whenever you see fit. But did they say if there's going to be like an end game? Are you going to be able to keep playing, or is it you finish the game?
They did not talk. They did not talk about that. They did not get into specifics about that at all. So,
yeah,
nope, can't say that.
Holiday means that for me after September.
Correct.
Right. So it'd be either October, November, December. Yep. And October, I guess it's possible, but man, if they release in November, that's gonna be crazy. So yeah, I don't know. Either mid October, early October, or early mid December. We'll see.
I can definitely, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. They'd be kind of crazy to launch November, but I could see them trying in that second week there, right? So in time for Black Holiday, I could see them pushing it. You know, that would give Starfield 2 weeks.
Again, like last week in November.
Right. Something like that. But it does make sense what you're saying about December. If they, especially if they're going to take as much time as they can possibly get out of this thing.
Like December 4th or 5th or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
You got to also think about Game of the Year awards and all those kind of things. Like all these games releasing around these times get screwed, right?
Well, I don't think anybody's worried about Game of the Year anymore. So it's going to be Elden Ring or maybe Starfield if it really shows up. So
yeah. So how about December the 3rd or 2nd? It's a Friday.
Yeah,
December 2nd.
Friday. Yeah, I think that'd be a perfect time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be fantastic. So you still are in the middle of the Christmas rush. You still have a chance to capture all those sales. It's already going to be big. It doesn't matter really. Again, Harry Potter, the name Harry Potter carries so much weight behind it that, again, you could launch it whenever and people are going to come out in droves. It doesn't matter if it's holiday. It doesn't matter when it is. So I think that they're safe no matter what they do. But if they don't want to be around the Starfield hype, December would be the safe.
And Shizno just put in the chat too. Gotham Knights, they got a release date recently for October 25th, which is another WB game.
Think about that, bro. Think about this holiday, brother. Again, the golden age of gaming is here, folks. This is ridiculous.
That's 2 weeks before Starfield, man. It's not fair.
We are getting more licensed games. We are getting more new IP. Yep. We are getting just ridiculous kind of quality coming out of these games. Let's talk about this real quick, Mav. Tunic got a surprise shadow drop on Game Pass. Now, Mav, we go back and all of us thought they had already announced it for Game Pass, right? Tunic.
Yeah.
And then the developer came out. I think it was what?
We didn't ever say that.
Yeah. Well, when was that? Was it the beginning of the year? I think it was the beginning of the year when that hype started kind of building for Tunic again. And the developer comes out and says, no, I could swore that during one of the shows where they said all the following games are going to be in Game Pass day and date.
Yeah.
I swear to, I haven't done the research because honestly, it really doesn't matter that much anymore, but I haven't done the research, but I swear that we all weren't suffering from the same memory, right? Yeah. Although that does happen. That's a scientific fact that can happen, but we all swore that was in Game Pass. Developer comes out, says, no, it's not in Game Pass. ID at Xbox was yesterday, and right before the show started live, there was rumblings. People had heard things, and then it showed up in the store when you looked at the Tunic, because everybody knew Tunic was dropping. But then when you went in there, it said, no, the price or available with Game Pass. Yeah. So then word started spreading. This was going to be the shadow drop, right? This is going to be the surprise of the show. Tunic is dropping in a Game Pass. And guess what? Came to fruition. Then the reviews started dropping as well. I think it's currently sitting at 87 Metacritic. Again, Meta who, but it's pretty much universal praise. There's even people saying, Jeff Grubb was one, put on Twitter, who would have thought that Tunic would be a competitor for Elden Ring for Game of the Year, right? There's people saying that it is absolutely ridiculously good. Now, I played the demo a little bit when it was out earlier last year. I like the game. I like a lot of things about it. Just kind of, like I said, doesn't really feel like my type of game, but I'm going to play it because it's in Game Pass at some point. But Mav, when you see these scores dropping, it's getting praised. Another one of those titles killing off the narrative that Game Pass is only for 60 meta games, right? That it's only for middling games, right? I know for us, it's been done forever, right? That it was a ridiculous argument, but I'm just saying that, hey, Game Pass is on a roll. For all those people who say we got nothing to play, we got nothing coming into Game Pass, it's been light, blah, blah, blah. We just got Marvel's Guardian of the Galaxy. Some people's game of the year last year Sure, it's a little bit of time after most people that wanted to play it played it. Yeah, but there's still a lot of us like me that never got to play Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a brand new game. It's a still to this day, I think you can pick it up for, I think, $30 at the cheapest. I want to say right around there on sale. It's still $30. Bro, I get to play that game now, right? I get to experience it, what everybody else got to experience. Game Pass is still on a roll here. They've still been killing it. And here comes Tunic. So, Mav, when you see the critical reception, when you see Tunic, I think Tunic's a game that you've been looking forward to, that you're going to check out. What do you think, brother? How is this hitting for you?
A lot better than Crossfire X for Game Pass, that's for sure.
What game?
What?
what game? What's Crossfire X? I have no idea. I still couldn't get the single player to download. What game? Okay, all right. Anyways, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, dude, a lot of people were really hyped for this game for a really long time, and now it tends to see why, right? Because it's supposedly overall, people are really liking it. I haven't had a chance to try it yet. I'm definitely going to. Like Pong, like the game doesn't scream out like, "Hey, Mav, you need to play this," because it's just not necessarily something that I look at and be like, "Wow, I want to play that really bad," right? But that being said, I have dove into games like that before, and really they caught my attention and love them, you know. So I'm definitely gonna give it a shot too. But it's great to see the overarching praise for this game, that a lot of people love it. It's another win for Game Pass and another win for value in the service. Props to them for finally getting this game out, man. It's been like, I feel like we've been talking about Tunic for like 6 years almost. I don't know how long it's actually been. It just feels like that. But yeah, dude, when you go and you look at the value of the service, right? Things like this matter, you know? Quality indie games, right? Quality AAA games, right? You got Guardians of the Galaxy hitting in there around the same time that Tunic hit. Just the drasticness of the variety there, right? You also have Shredders that just hit. I don't know how that game's doing, if people like it or not, but like,
it's
not very good. No, yeah,
it's too oh God, we're going way off topic, but who cares? It's our show. It's too simmy for me. I wanted more. Yeah. I wanted more SSX.
Yeah,
and less sim. This is more steep than it is SSX, right?
Yeah, that's not gonna be my bag either. Really,
it's good. It's chill. The music is perfectly set up. You know, the graphics are good. They're not mind blowing by any stretch of imagination, but it's okay. I played through the tutorial last night and I played a couple of the missions, but man, some of the button combinations, that's always my problem. Why do you have to make button combinations so complex for snowboarding and skateboarding games? If you're going to make it a sim game, fine. I get it. You want it to be challenging. But if you want it to be accessible and kind of arcadey, and this one's got the whole point system and it's got all that kind of stuff to it, then just make the buttons easy like SSX, right? Yeah. Please. I don't want to have to push 5 buttons to pull off a method error. Okay. I don't. Again, after a while, it gets annoying, especially when you fail 3 or 4 times on the same run.
Yeah.
Because you had to push it. So again, it's a cool game. Glad it dropped in the Game Pass. Glad I got to try it. I'm sure there's some people out there who are going to love it. I've seen some real positive reception for it. There are some people really enjoying Shredders. For me, I don't think I'm gonna go back.
It's gonna be. It is one of those, you know, certain skateboarding games or certain like sports games like that, or like, some of them are for some people and they aren't for others, right? So this is probably gonna be one of those. But we also have like games like Weird West coming. We got Crusader Kings, which you're super hyped about.
Super hyped.
Just like the variety there, man, is like so staggering. You know, they're casting a wide net, right? And even though stuff isn't going to necessarily be for everybody, there is an overarching theme of quality throughout Game Pass is starting to form. You're going to have your misses, like Crossfire X, right? Which weirdly wasn't even actually part of Game Pass for a little while, even though it was supposed to be. So that was even like, they just missed Game Pass altogether. It was like, maybe they had a Metacritic,
push that button.
Maybe they had a Metacritic filter, and it just wasn't like it just didn't reach the score that it needed to be to actually be available yet. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. There's something for everybody in the service, right? So Tunic, I know people that are super excited for it, you know, and
Yeah.
and
Sure.
they get it, and they don't even have to pay for it right now. If they want to buy it later before it leaves the service, and they're gonna have that opportunity, right? It looks pretty cool. I'm gonna give it a try and go from there. But I'm super pleased that it's a game that released, got shadow dropped into Game Pass, and didn't get trashed on because of it either. You know what I mean? It's a win. It's kind of like for the first half of the year, you know, I guess you could look at Sifu for PlayStation, right? It's like a big
Yeah.
win in the indie community, right?
Oh, for sure.
For the PlayStation, and
especially with the Matrix mod.
yeah.
Look, that's why mods have to come to console. Okay. I want that mod. You haven't seen it? Oh my god. Oh my god. They turned Sifu into Neo.
Wow.
And then everybody else is
like
Agent Smith.
Wow. That's
cool. Bro, and they changed up the sound effects. Right. So it's got the sound effects from the Matrix.
Is that only on PC, or is that available?
Only on PC. Okay. Only on PC. That's why I said they got to come to console. Mods got to be accepted.
That's pretty cool, dude. But yeah, like Sifu, it was really successful as an indie game for PlayStation this year. You know, I feel like Tunic can be that for Xbox for the first half of the year, right?
Yep.
And I think Xbox is going to have a really heavy first party lineup for the second half, and then you know, PlayStation's going to have a little less, but you know, they're going to have some really quality stuff there as well. So ultimately this year, man, between the third party stuff and the stuff coming to Game Pass and everything, it's just absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah. And I think these smaller games nowadays, again, there are people who live and die by the AAA home runs, and that's all they look forward to. More power to you. Okay. Never tell you how you should be a gamer ever.
To those people, there's only 3 games released a year.
Correct. And those are the people that you see a lot on Twitter, or at least they pretend to be on Twitter, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, all these small games count, especially with indies nowadays. Tunic, from a polish standpoint, from everything that I've read, from all the videos that I've seen so far on Tunic, from a polish standpoint, just like Death's Door last year, is AAA, like in all but name, right? If you told me that Tunic, just like I said last year, if you told me Death's Door had come from one of the big studios, I wouldn't have batted an eye. I would have believed you because of how polished and good it looked and how well it played. Tunic is getting that same type of reception. And that's the difference nowadays than maybe years and years ago, the Xbox 360 era, when they started the whole arcade, Xbox Arcade, and we started getting more indie games that were on PC, but they, you know, again, you could tell an indie game from most big games. Nowadays, unless you know the backstory, there's a lot of smaller games that could be passed off as coming from any of the big developers or any of the big publishers, and nobody would even think twice about it, right? That's the difference. Again, what the developers have access to as far as tools go is shrinking down the difference between, you know, $100 million game and, you know, 300 developers and a small, you know, 10-man team, 1-man team, 3-man, whatever team, and a small budget. The tools that they have access to now with Unity, Unreal, all these free type dev kits out there.
Yeah.
That changes the game, right? Pun intended. That changes the entire game, because now you see these indie devs coming out with high quality stuff, right? And the engines that only the big companies used to be able to afford or create on their own don't matter so much anymore. Sure, there's some that still stand out, but the smaller developers now have access to the main ones. And for that to happen has been one of the biggest transformations in the gaming industry, because again, we're getting high quality content from small teams that come out of nowhere and give us something great. And that's what Tunic is. At the end of the day, again, even if the game's not for me, it's another win for going into Game Pass. It's another win for gamers who have Game Pass to get to try it out. And even if you don't have Game Pass, look, it's another great game to add to the library if you're going to purchase it, right? So again, love seeing this, love the critical reception, especially like you said, Matt, for how long people have been talking about Tunic, for it to come out in its final form and be scoring this well. And again, some of the outlier scores, I read some of the outlier reviews. They didn't seem very fair as we usually see with the outlier scores. They didn't seem really fair, right? There was a 40 in there where somebody said it wanted to be too much like Zelda. What? Okay, are you reviewing Zelda or are you reviewing Tunic?
Right.
Okay, on its own in a vacuum. You could say that it took inspiration from Zelda, which obviously it did. I think the developer himself has said that Tunic took inspiration from Zelda, but to downgrade it because it doesn't quite meet Zelda's expectations, okay, that's wrong. You can't do that. This is its own game.
Right? I didn't see anybody really saying that about Splitgate with Halo. You know what I mean? Correct.
Obviously. And again, so with those outliers out of the way, this thing is probably at a 90, without the outliers. And again, meta who, but again, when you see the vast majority of critical reception be that positive, that means most likely the game is doing something right. And obviously Tunic is. So shout out to the developers. Shout out to obviously to Xbox for getting it into Game Pass. Again, that fills kind of the hole that we're in right now. For me, somebody who plays a lot of games, I really don't see any holes. I don't care when these games come out, but whatever. I know there's some people out there who think that they're missing a lot. Look, starting next year, you're not going to be talking about this anymore because Xbox has so much content coming. So, but overall, great job.
47 reviews, 46 reviews, 45 positive, 1 negative. And the overall score currently now is sitting at an 85.
85. Okay, so it did drop even a couple more points, but that's okay. 85 is a great game. Okay.
Yeah.
Great game.
Higher than Triangle Strategy, actually.
Back in the day. Yeah, and Triangle Strategy. Speaking of that, man, boy, I've seen some for how kind of, again, because it's on Switch. So I guess us not being a big part of the Nintendo community, I do follow Nintendo people just to see what they're talking about. Man, a lot of people were talking about that, and all of a sudden now I see a lot of people talking about Triangle Strategy, Mav, a lot. And we're going to talk about another game like that got announced from Square. We'll talk about that later after we get done with the Starfield explosion here. We'll talk about the state of play from Sony last week and a game that you and I are definitely hyped about for sure. And we'll get into that a little bit, but Triangle Strategy is getting some credit where credit's due. Glad to see these types of games coming back. This is good news. Like you said, Matt, Crusader Kings 3, a grand strategy game. And for anybody who does, again, I will just make this shout out and then we'll get into Starfield here, folks. We're all over the place today because Mav and I haven't spoken in a long time here. So we're kind of all over the place, but this is our show. So this is how we're going to do things. It's open and flowing. Listen, Crusader Kings 3, anybody who's semi-interested, it is dropping into Game Pass. It is from Paradox. Paradox are experts in bringing games from PC to console. Now, there will be people out there who dispute that, who say the controls are still too clunky because they bring big strategy games over like Stellaris, to the console, which most companies are afraid to do. Paradox, I give them all the credit in the world because they are one of the ones out there pushing these games onto console, and I love them for it. They do an excellent job. It takes a while to get used to because some of these games are big and complex, but once you get used to it, it really isn't that bad of an experience, especially since most of these games are PvE, not PvP. So you're not going up against keyboard and mouse warriors, okay? You're just going up against the computer and you can pull it off. But anybody interested in grand strategy, do not sleep on Crusader Kings 3. This currently is, I got a Metacritic, I believe, of a 90 or 91 on PC. They've just announced in a year and a half. Now, this is a grand strategy game. This is very niche. People, this is very niche. In a year and a half, they sold 2 million copies. I believe they're up to now. Okay. That's gigantic for this type of game. That's no small feat. So this game is popular on PC. Go look at the YouTube channels out there that try to give you tips and tricks in beginning Crusader Kings 3. There's a million of them because this is a difficult game. But if you're looking for something cool to sit back on the couch, sink yourself into taking over, medieval Europe, this is the game to check out. It's dropping in the Game Pass. I pre-ordered the deluxe edition. I support the devs. I support I try to, again, within my budget, but this is a game I've been looking forward to for a very long time. So I'm buying the deluxe edition, which comes with the DLC. But I try to support the devs that are bringing over these niche Japanese titles like Danganronpa. I supported Spike Chunsoft for finally doing that. I purchased the game, even though it's a Game Pass, and I'm buying this deluxe edition. It's just good to see this happening now. People are making a push with strategy games right now. If we get Age of the Empires 4 later this year, bro, console is going to be the place, and Xbox is the place pushing for these type of games. We're in a whole new realm, right? We're going back to the 360 days when we got these strategy games, which is freaking-tastic for both of us. So can't wait to see what comes of this. But again, Crusader Kings 3, March 31st. Don't sleep on it. Try it out. Game Pass, free to try. That's my little rant about Crusader Kings. All right. So Starfield Mav. God Howard puts out another one of their diaries this week. It was, what was it called? For the Wanderers, right?
Yeah.
I believe that's what it was, For the Wanderer. Okay. Puts out another Biodoc, diary, whatever you want to call it, dev diary, whatever you want to call it, where they take us behind the scenes. Todd sits down with some members of his team, and they give us another little glimpse into what Starfield is going to be. Again, every time I think my hype for Starfield, and I don't care, again, there's no hype killing here. If you are disappointed because you got yourself too hyped up, that's on you. I take full responsibility. If Starfield comes out and it's complete trash, okay, it's terrible, it's the worst Todd Howard developed game in history, I will take personal responsibility for myself being hyped, period.
But what if you still think it's good and everybody else thinks it's trash?
I did that with Cyberpunk, and I stood on that hill, Mav, and I still stand on that hill, don't I? Day one. I don't care. Again, I don't care. I don't care what other people think. But I'm saying that I've got myself up to like stratosphere type hype for Starfield. And if I'm disappointed in Starfield, it's on me, nobody else. I don't care. Okay. But every time I think the hype can't get any more, Todd does this. Okay. And yes, I'm biased. Yes, Bethesda's probably my favorite. If you had to pin me down and tell you what my favorite publisher developer of all time is, I'm going to tell you it's Bethesda. They have given me more experiences in my life than any other one has that are so memorable that I can't forget them no matter how many years go by. That is special. And so Bethesda is up there for me. So I am biased. But anyways, Starfield, Mav, I'm going to let you just dive into this because I know you watch this video. Maybe you even watched it multiple times like me to get a good sense of everything that they were talking about in here. But for anybody who missed this, please, if you have any interest in Starfield, go watch it. It gives you a good look at the minds of who's creating this game. Again, even if you've seen a lot of Todd interviews, every time he does something new like this, you get another peek into the mind of somebody who I consider a genius in this field, in this industry. Okay. And you get to look at the other people around him, some of who have been there from the beginning, and you get to see the relationship that they have and how comfortable they are talking about their games, how confident they are in what they are doing. But Mav, give me your impressions. Give me some of the points that you pulled out of what they were giving us with this new Starfield dev diary, I guess we'll call it at this point. What did you take away from this, Matt?
So a couple things. First, I'm enjoying some candy here. This is like a yearly thing for me, right, guys?
What kind of candy?
It's Sweet Tarts. Those of you that know me,
Sweet Tarts. Out of all the what?
I'm a huge Sweet Tarts fan, man.
Chewy or no?
No, I like the old school.
Of course
Sweet
you
Tarts,
do.
right?
Of course you. But out of all the candies, Sweet Tarts is top.
My favorite, 100%.
Wow, Caitlin, how are you still married to this man?
But
I like Sweet Tarts. I like Sweet Tarts.
Every Easter, they have chicks, ducks, and bunnies, right? And these are fire, guys. Now we in our household call them chicks, dicks, and honeys. So I'm enjoying my chicks, dicks, and honeys right now. I think it's a chick that I just ate. But anyway, guys, enough about candy. Starfield. Wow. It can't get any, like, I could just listen to Todd Howard talk about his inspiration for creating a game.
Pause, Siki. Pause. We don't say suck 'em, Mav. Okay.
Suck 'em. Now, the regular sweet tarts that come in a roll, you know, the best way to eat those.
Yes.
You pop one out, you put it in your mouth, you just let it sit. You don't bite it, you don't chew it, you just let it sit. It'll last a few minutes. You can like really embrace the flavor.
Are you biased against any of the flavors at all?
Yeah, I'm not crazy about yellow.
Okay.
You know, but I remember when I was a kid and they introduced blue, I was so pissed off. Because they took something else away, and I can't even remember what it was now. And they just kept putting blue in there, and I was like, now there's two that I don't like, you know? But the orange and the red and the green are my favorites. Yeah. Anyway.
Now, there you go. There you have it, chat. Show's over. We got Mav to admit his favorite candy. That's it. That's all we came here for. So, got nothing else to talk about now.
Sweet tarts are amazing, guys. Anyway.
All right, brother.
Yeah, so moving on. We got a little bit of snippet of gameplay actually in here with that mech, the companion. So you get
look, we're not allowed to call it gameplay, Matt. We're not allowed to do that.
Game. He even
in
spoke.
In engine.
That was gameplay.
Mav, if it's gameplay, they always 100% of the time put a disclaimer on the bottom.
Who's saying this? Is this you speaking, or is this like the internet?
This is what the community of smart people are telling me, Mav.
Okay. Well,
okay.
Screw you, idiots! It's obviously gameplay. What? I mean, they're gonna create this fake in-engine thing just to show us, just for this short little snippet in the middle of this interview thing. Come on! They obviously took that from the game. Like, that's obvious. Maybe they zoomed in a little bit more. Maybe they got rid of some of the HUD or whatever just to make it like more like focus on the mech. But really, people don't.
Yes, for anybody in the chat who thinks I'm not being sarcastic, I was being sarcastic because that's what people on Twitter are fighting about currently, along with the hype thing, is whether or not they actually showed gameplay and whether or not that should even count, or whether or not we should, as Xbox fans, be or as Bethesda fans, be requesting even more. That's ridiculous that they shouldn't even show that as worthless. Anyways,
I mean, dude, that's a few seconds, but if you pause and zoom in on that, it's really damn impressive. Now, besides that, which doesn't even matter, that's not why I play Bethesda games in the first place, right? I don't play those games to be like, oh my god, this is the most jaw-dropping graphics I've ever seen, even though I think we're going to get some of that in this game. I play these games for all the things that Todd talks about, right? And all of the stuff that goes into the lore, into the creating of the worlds and the ideas behind it and the systems in place, and including the narrative decisions like they brought up, with like being able to try and really persuade somebody into doing something. Like I found that interesting. They're taking some aspects that they had in place in Oblivion.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Matt, because that was a big, IGN got it wrong. They did not say that they went back and took the Oblivion mechanics. Right. Okay. IGN tried to propose it that they went back to and rework the Oblivion mechanics and put it into Starfield. That's not what they said they did. They said they didn't even go back and look at the Oblivion. It just kind of wound up being similar, but new and fresh, and kind of just resembles what they did in Oblivion, but they did not go back and rework those mechanics from the old.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like they know what worked in the past, and they tried to recreate some ideas and stuff, and interpret things in a fresh way, right? Where it's like, it's not like, okay, we're gonna take these existing assets and these code that we have and move it over here, and just kind of spruce it up a bit. Oblivion was really good in a lot of ways for its dialogue choices and its conversations and all of those things. And Skyrim was great, but I did lose a little bit of some of that with that game as opposed to Oblivion. I think that where they're going with this is there's some aspects that are in Oblivion that it's almost like inspiration for this game, right? Whether it's by accident or not, I'm really excited about that, right? So they're talking about these dialogue choices and options when you're having a conversation, and it's more organic, right? Like you're really in the conversation, and it feels like, and it's like he says it's like more of like a feeling. You're actually trying to get across, like you're trying to persuade them and stuff like that. It's just really interesting stuff. And then the other thing was the companions. You know, the mech that they showed was really like mind blowing to me. It's just there's just so much, dude. I mean, like they only talked for like a few minutes, but I feel like there's like 30 things you could take away from this, dude. Like what's some of your biggest takeaways?
Biggest takeaways. First of all, again, I kind of said it already, but again, when I watch these videos of these talented teams, it's always interesting to watch a veteran team versus a newer team, right? And how they speak about their games, right? Todd and his crew, like a lot of times you'll see newer devs, really excited and obviously, just so happy to be creating what they've been dreaming of and finally be able to talk about it. And they're just super hyped for it. Todd and his crew have been doing this for so dang long and have produced some of the best games ever seen, according to a lot of us, that they just walk into these things. And when they're talking, they don't have to have that outward hype level. What they're saying is what creates that, because they are so confident in what they are doing that it just comes through the screen at you when you're listening to these guys, right? Sit around, guys and gals, sit around. I use guys as a general term. But they sit around and they talk about this stuff so easy and it comes so natural. And I know this stuff is scripted. I know they come into these diaries with a plan of what they're going to talk about. I get all that. But again, it's so natural for them that when they talk about this stuff, you just know that they've already seen it happen on screen, that it's already, to them, it's already being perfected, right? That they're at that point where they're talking about this stuff and they know deep down, they all have that little smile on their face when they talk about certain mechanics, that they know deep down they've nailed it already, right? They've nailed it out of the park. And that's what you got out of this one for sure, because they were talking about going back to the old days. And again, I know it got panned a little bit, hardcore RPG. Do you actually consider an Oblivion a hardcore RPG or not? But Todd used those words, right? Hardcore RPG. And they talked about going back, which was music to my ears, right? Because one of the main problems that people had with Fallout 4, right? They got away from the RPG aspects. And a lot of people like to point to not only Fallout 76, but they also point out the Fallout 4 as not very well received by a lot of people, even though some people really love Fallout 4. But the reason why a lot of us went, I'd rather play Fallout 3 than Fallout 4 was because the RPG aspects got kind of taken out of it, right? And they went more to an action, right, kind of game. Fallout 3 had more of those hardcore RPG, and they talked about going back to that, going back to the basics and be able to give your character a background story. Some people could care less about character creation. I love character creation. So for me, that's huge. Giving me a background story is a big deal. Whether or not that changes how the game plays, I don't care. Cyberpunk got blown up because, CD Projekt Red, one of the things they said was your background's going to matter. Well, it only mattered in certain conversations where you could get some extra dialogue, but overall, it didn't change how the story really played out, right, at the end of the day. But for Todd and his team just to be able to go back and include that kind of stuff into it, that for me gets me excited, because that means they're going back to the roots. That means that Todd has realized that Fallout 4 didn't hit necessarily with the wider audience because, well, maybe it got a wider audience because it was less RPG, but his core wasn't necessarily happy with that. So with Starfield, he has a chance to go back and incorporate some of that old school flavor to Starfield, which is great for me.
Yeah.
Right. I love that aspect of it. So that was a huge one. Like you, Mav, when they talked about the conversational styles, they had gotten away from the Oblivion way of things, where there wasn't a obvious right and wrong answer when you were conversating with one of the NPCs. You had to kind of decipher, and you kind of had to guess, like, how am I going to respond? Like, okay, I know this is going to give me a certain reaction, but I don't know how this is going to play out in reality. Whereas they got away with that from some of their more current games, and it became more obvious. Okay, if I choose this, I know exactly how this is going to go. And if I choose this one, I know the opposite is going to happen. So good versus bad decision making. This one is much more gray area, and that is more old school RPG. That brings me back to like Knights of the Old Republic days, right? That brings me back to BioWare peak decision making and dialogue, where there was really gray area stuff. Like, you didn't know how it was going to affect your morality, right? So that was also a big thing for me. More natural dialogue, that kind of stuff. Factions. They talk more about the factions and how you're going to be able to join the factions and how you're going to be able to interact. And they finally talked about the pirates, right? Again, anybody who knows me, if you give me the choice when it comes to an RPG to dive into the dark side of things, I will dive into the dark side of things. Okay. That's just me. Maybe because naturally I'm a more good person, right? Maybe I just like that enticing side of things. I don't know what it is, but I naturally will lean that way. So when they start talking about the pirates and that you're going to be able to join the pirates, cool. Okay, I'm down. I'm down to be a pirate. It's a pirate's life for me. Space pirates all the way. And I think I saw Nick's in the chat earlier talking about that as well. Space pirates all the way. And they even said, hey, if you still kind of want to play on the good side of things, you can go narc, right? You can go narc to the Federation, or what, I forget what they call it. I think it's the Federation or whatever it is. You can go narc to them about your pirate life, and you can kind of play the undercover cop aspect of things if you want to do that as well. Look, that's what it's about. The last thing I'll talk about, Matt, that caught my attention, they're leaning heavy. They talked about keeping it chaotic, okay?
Yeah.
That you can do anything at any time, and the game has to respond to it, and that creates a lot of unknown. What do I always talk about when I talk about the Skyrims, when I talk about the Fallouts, when I talk about any of these games from Bethesda, is that that's some of the best parts of that game. The exploration and discovery, which we know is going to be there. You could hear them when they were talking about it, the exploration and discovery. But it's the chaos that you can create, the randomness that happens throughout the world that makes your own playthrough special, right? We've seen some of that in Elden Ring, just from an exploration discovery standpoint, people being at different points, finding secrets that nobody else has found, talking about them with their friends while you're in chat, even though it's a single player experience. Like, for me, Skyrims and the Fallouts take that to a whole nother level, because randomness in the game of things just happening out of the blue. Again, Skyrim is giving me some of the funniest moments that I've laughed out loud. Again, a dragon battle in which all of a sudden a dragon shows up that had previously obviously been fighting a clan of giants and their mammoths. And one of the giants was riding the dragon, standing on top of him as he started attacking me, right? Like, that just stupid stuff like that. And the fact that they're saying, like, hey, guess what? All that is like a part of who we are, who our games are. That means, all right, even better, because they're not taking any of that away. So yes, I'm sure they want a more bug-free game, but the random crazy stuff that can happen, they're not going to try to get rid of that and make it more of a cookie cutter type experience. That for me is huge too. So those were some of the big things that I really got out of it.
For me, like, the randomness was like always when I'm like walking like in Skyrim down a path, and then there's like people out to get me, and they like just randomly show up. They'll like walk to you, you know what I mean? And they just start a conversation with you, like, where did you come from? Right. And like, why are you after me? But they were sent from somebody that buy it with and they have this note on them that's like says that they're hired to assassinate you. But like, the chaos that happens is if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time when that happens, like strolling through a village, right? If you happen to be strolling through a little village and they start attacking you, then all of a sudden it's a whole freaking warfare in this village,
Correct.
just because of where you
Right.
were standing at the time and
Right.
the happenstance that they came across your path at that time, right? And then everybody in the village dies, right? It's crazy. You know,
it's absolutely, it's so crazy. I think I told this story on Xbox Ultimate when I started playing the anniversary edition of Skyrim again, right?
Yeah.
I was going someplace. Of course, I was walking there because it's more fun to walk everywhere. And I was crossing a river and there was some mud crabs there, which they're always around. But this dude, I turned around because I wanted to make sure the mud crab wasn't coming after me. And all of a sudden there's this dude swimming in the water towards me. I'm on this little island in the middle of this kind of big river. Right. And there's a dude swimming towards me out of the blue. Like I'm out in the middle of nowhere. There's no towns close by, nothing. And this dude's swimming towards me. And I'm like, what's this dude? Who's this guy? He gets up on the beach, strolls up to me. And I'm like, all right. And then, like you said, Mav, all of a sudden he's like, hey, can you hold this armor for me? I'll come back for it later. Like randomly gives me some armor and says, I'll be back for it later. Walks off, jumps back in the river, starts swimming. Well, he aggroes some of the mud crabs. So all of a sudden now he's on the other side of the riverbank in a fight with the mud crabs. Bro, that stuff to me is just the best ever.
Did you go and save him?
No, of course not. No, I took his armor. I didn't want to give back the armor later. No.
Like you just randomly showed up with some armor. It's like,
yeah, just like, hold this armor for me. I'll be back for it later.
That sounds like a Monty Python movie or something, right?
right, exactly. I love that stuff about Bethesda games. So that to me was also a big part of this. And again, Mav, when they started talking about like being able to see, like, again, they talked about in this interview, again, they went back to the big questions about why are we here and what's out there, right? Those are the big questions. And they want, Todd specifically said, again, of course, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something like when, of course, I want the players when they get, to have, the stories that they create within my world. But when they get done playing with Starfield, I want them to look back and really think about the big questions, like why are we here and what's out there? And I really want to leave that lasting impression with maybe some answers to those questions. For you, Mav, like thinking about that and thinking about how we are as just humans, and that Todd wants to kind of push that narrative, some questions that most of us as human beings at some point have asked. What do you think that means for the bigger picture of Starfield? Like, what does that say to you? Like, are we talking about like that this is going to be not like a No Man's Sky, right? Not like some, ridiculous, real time space that you can never see everything. Obviously, that's not what we're going to get out of this game. But do you think that they can actually shoot for that and answer those types of questions, or create a narrative, a story within this game that really comes close to making you even consider that at all as a player? Because that's a big thing.
Yeah, I think it's like, it goes to the essence of like why space exploration exists in the first place, right? Why the sci-fi genre is as popular as it is, going back to like classic old sci-fi movies and stuff, right? And I like, then you go into movies like Interstellar as well, and you have like and then you have the classics like of Star Trek, and I think this really is taking that concept of like a man and the final frontier, trying to find those answers, in the exploration and discovery is like the key motivating factor of why you're doing everything you're doing, right? And that for me, like the way he talks about all that stuff is the essence of what Starfield is going to be, right? And then he has to flesh out the world around that. Like, okay, if people are doing this now, like how is it going to be with the factions and the groups and the corporations and and the actual kind of craft they're using, and the relationships and like all these different things they like think about, and what are the colonies actually going to be like that where people have actually settled, on planets and these things like that. And it's like you really see that they're going for this, what did he call it, NASA punk, like a real world
Yes.
approach to the future of
Yep.
space travel, right? As opposed to a lot of the unbelievable stuff we see out there. And because they are trying to keep it in this like more realistic look and ideas behind it all, it makes it more feasible to have those questions, right? And to like think about the possibilities that we're gonna unfold in that game. And because of that, when we do come across these answers, if they are in the game, if we ever get those true answers in the game, I wonder if we're going to question like, okay, well, everything else seems so spot on. Is this like what it could be in real life? Who knows? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
how far away are people from being able to achieve these things? Because eerily, in some other games, we've actually seen like real world events take place that have like mirrored things that have happened in games decades before.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
it's just very strange. And I think a lot of it is because of the amount of research that these creators do when creating these worlds, right? And something like Starfield is not something that they just like, hey, let's just come up with some fun little concepts and stuff like that. No, this is like a deep passion project of lots of research, lots of looking into different sci-fi either movies or books or whatever, and it's also coming up with your own concepts, but also using what you think for them is like a feasible world, right? Because for them, like the more feasible it is, the more realistic and more engrossing it's going to be for us. That's why in their games, like they make it to where we can grab a mug,
Right.
right? It serves 0 point, right? And we end up carrying around shit tons of bags just full of like plates and forks and mugs and flowers and vases and just stuff that's worthless, trash. But those make those worlds like more tangible and realistic, right? And more lived in. And it goes down the whole core concept of wanting to put us in that situation of like, and it's almost like that's the core goal for them, is to be like completely immersed and lose yourself in the world, right? Which is something they've been able to do with Bethesda games, unlike any RPGs for me. Like, but I think that goes to also it being playable in first person as well, right? Where you have your first person, your third person, because you can really truly become the character. You can have those conversations. You can, your decisions have actual implications later in the games that you never thought you could have actually caused this to happen, but you're playing like 100 hours later, and something or some ramification of some decision you made early on is coming out to play in full force based on a discussion that you have with somebody. And you're like, oh no, do I want to, I can't do this now because I made that decision. Now, do I restart the game? Because I really want to do this. You know what I mean? Like, those situations have come up before for me in some of those games where it's like, wow, man, like there's so much. So that's one of the reasons why they have such high replayability and so many people making different kinds of characters and some people.
Todd's talked about that in the past too,
Yeah.
right, Matt? That one of his big things that he loves about his own games or hearing people's stories is that when you get done with the game, you've created this whole world for yourself, this whole story for yourself. But then you go back and look at all the decisions you didn't make or all the decisions you could have made differently. And you start thinking about those things. And that makes you want to dive back in and maybe play some way different, right? And try to go find all that different stuff. And the freedom to create your own story is one of the biggest hallmarks of a Bethesda title and of Todd Howard and how he believes. Like, that's what he wants. He does not, I think he said at the beginning of this dev diary, right? He said that some medium, meaning like TVs, movies, the creator shows you what they want you to see, and you as the viewer are just taking in, but they are giving you exactly what they want you to see and take out of from that whatever you're watching. Whereas his games and games in general, you're in there making your own story and making your own path. And with his games and Bethesda's games, those paths are so many
Mhm.
to almost, I won't say limitless because there's a limit to him, but he's got this such big open world that you can go have completely different experiences from the next person. Your best friend next to you could have a completely different story, completely different set of scenarios, and that makes you want to go back and experience it again and more. I think that's special. That's something that's big that you were just talking
Yeah.
about.
I mean, honestly, I never even care about finishing the Bethesda games.
No, right,
For me, I
right.
want to live in them,
Correct. Yep.
right? Because I always go off the beaten path. I don't follow, and it's just very strange for me because in most games, I'm at like a main objective, go do that, right? I'm a very opposite from you. Usually, you live with all the side quests first, and you go plow through the campaign. For me, in most games, I'm always like the main objective guy because I get more engrossed in that story,
Yep.
right? But because of the way that Bethesda does it with their games, is I'm the story
Correct.
and it's being told as I'm playing, right? And
Yep.
I'm creating the narrative of like it's like looking back and watching a movie and all the things that happen to this character. I'm creating all those scenarios, right?
Right.
As
Right.
opposed to the game forcing them on me in a set direct path. And if they achieved what they've achieved with Skyrim and Oblivion in a space epic where it's about exploration and finding those answers, that's why I've been so hyped for
Right.
Starfield.
Correct.
And people don't understand that. People that just like, oh, it's just another game, they don't understand like what it means to be a Bethesda Game Studios single player RPG AAA game.
Correct.
Either they don't know what that means or they've forgotten because they don't pay enough attention, right? And I think there's a lot of focus on what have you done for me lately and all these things. Well, what they've been doing since Fallout 4 is they've been developing Starfield.
Correct. Yep.
And this is just going to be that next one in line, man. Like the hype level for me, I made a tweet last night as I said this is becoming one of my most anticipated games of all time. Right? Up there with like some of the Halos, like Red Dead Redemption, right? I hype levels off the charts for that.
Correct. Yep.
Other Bethesda games, Skyrim,
Yep.
Oblivion, Splinter Cell games, right? This is like I'm having trouble like really allocating like where this stands for me, but I honestly can't think of another game that I've been really anticipating and looking forward to for longer than this because this is
Right.
something I wanted before it was ever even announced, right? Because I remember back in the day when reading stuff about Bethesda Game Studios and interviews and all these things with Todd Howard and after playing Oblivion, which was my favorite, um, him saying like he wants to do sci-fi at some point, right? That they have an idea for one, but it's difficult because their games take so damn long to make, and that they want to make Fallout and they want to make Oblivion games. Right? I mean, Elder Scrolls games. So then they did Fallout 3, they did Oblivion, they did Fallout 4, or sorry, Skyrim, Fallout 4, right? And then once because I always had this vision in my head of like, man, I hope they do that. Gosh, I hope they do it. I hope they do it. And I remember at E3, they said they were doing it. Right? It was like 2016 or something like that. It's like, oh my god, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. They're gonna go for it and make that sci-fi RPG that they've dreamt of making. And yeah, did it suck that it means we got to wait longer for Elder Scrolls 6? Yes, because we could be getting Elder Scrolls 6 this year instead of Starfield, right?
I'm okay with that.
But I'm okay with that to create another whole experience, right?
Right.
Another whole world to be excited about, another whole thing in this like these worlds that they've created, man. And like Starfield is going to be a name that is going to mean a lot for gamers, I think, in the future. Like whether they see it now or not, I think it's going to be a huge deal. And I can't wait, man. I'm like, I'm so over the moon. Everything I'm hearing is everything I'm hearing is everything I hoped I would hear. I don't need to see shit right now. It could look like Fallout 3 and be this game that they're talking about, and I'd be completely content because it's about living in the world for me and everything that I'm taking apart. And now, is it gonna look like Fallout 3? No. It's gonna be their best graphical game ever, right? We've already seen little glimpses of this. The sandwich. Just look at the sandwich, guys. Was the sandwich in engine? Yes. You know, I mean, the mech, you know, all of this stuff, we've seen glimpses, and it's like, okay, that's really like strong, right? And so I'm not worried about that. Like, people that are like saying all this stuff, well, you haven't seen anything, why are you excited? Well, shit, like, do you hear this guy talk about the game that they're making, and do you realize what they've created in the past? That's all. I mean, dude, hype level is, I just hope I have enough time to put into it as I want to, right? That's like the main thing, is like I want to put like thousands of hours into this game when it comes out, and I don't want to beat it.
Right.
I'm going to say right now, I personally do not give a shit about beating Starfield. I'm going to make another admission. I have never gotten to the end of Skyrim.
Wow.
I have restarted that game with new characters about 20 times. I've bought it on multiple systems, and I've enjoyed every single minute of it. And I just go and do whatever the hell I want to do. Right? Yeah. And that's how I like to play the game. Right?
Yeah.
And it's a freaking amazing game. I love it. It's one of the best games of all time. And I've never seen the end.
It's about the experience. It's about the experience. And that's the best part, like you said, man, about Bethesda titles. And again, the last one that had this hype level for me was Cyberpunk 2077. I was hyped for Cyberpunk. Again, you say Cyberpunk to me, and you're telling me you're bringing back in a CD Projekt Red style RPG. I was hyped from the get-go. Like, that's one of my dream scenarios as well. And look, it's not for everybody. I can hear all the complaints that people had about Cyberpunk, all that kind of stuff. But for me, it still wound up being a Bethesda style type world that I just love to go into. That's why I still have not finished my first playthrough. I am now approaching 270 hours in that game. I have not finished the playthrough. Why? Because that is a world that I love driving around in, listening to music, and checking out what people are doing on the streets. Did it live up to everything that they said it was going to be? Absolutely not. Is there things missing out of the game that they promised would be in there? Absolutely, there is. But at the end of the day, the finished product is still one of the best games I have ever played, and just one of the best experiences that I have ever had living in a video game world, right? Is it Skyrim level? No, Skyrim's still GOAT for me. Skyrim Oblivion, depending on the day.
Yeah.
You know, both of those. But just like Cyberpunk, for me, Bethesda worlds, again, I can just sit, like you said, Mav, and just travel the world and go see what I want to see. The main missions, the main storyline is secondary or even tertiary for me, right? It is not the primary goal when I walk into one of their worlds. It's everything else. And again, what they've been talking about nonstop is keeping that feeling. Todd talked about that, right? That you can go do so many other things. You don't have to go through the main mission. You don't have to feel like you have to go anywhere. You can go decide to go do one of a numerous things. And I think that what we'll talk about here next, Mav, is some of the because we love Speculation Town. And since this came out, there have been some leakers out there, and we're going to take it all with a grain of salt. And I'm not going to get into the story leaks, okay? Because again, if it's real, I've seen it. There's some people out there with information that claim that they know how the story ends. I'm not going to get into that, but I'm going to get into some mechanics that they're talking about possibly could be in this game. And it makes sense when we talk about this map that we can go live your own story and never see the end of this game.
Right.
And that's the beauty of Bethesda titles. I absolutely agree with you 100% that these are the games that I enjoy the most, because everything, like if you sat me down and have me tell you the memories of Oblivion or the memories of Fallout or the memories of Skyrim or any of the Bethesda titles, all the memories are going to be incidental stories and side quests and all the different stuff that I did And it would be a long time before I ever got to any of the main mission points, talking about my memories, right?
Yeah.
And for most games, that's not the case. Most games, it's about finishing the story, even though I don't finish many games because I play so many, because I've gotten to the point in my life where it's just the experience. Even if it's not an open world game, I can still say I had a great experience within that game. Even if I played it for 15 hours and it was, I didn't finish it, I can still say I had a great experience. I experienced part of that game and I enjoyed it. But Bethesda titles, they're built around that aspect. And that's the beauty of them. I absolutely agree with you wholeheartedly. So here, let's jump in, Mav, just for fun. Speculation town a little bit here. We're an hour and a half in. Starfield is all the hype right now. Let's talk about some of these supposed leaks. Again, everybody, this is speculation town. If you don't want to hear any of this stuff, okay, just push mute or whatever. Sorry, but Mav and I like to talk about this.
No story leaks.
No, so. I'm not going to do story leaks. I'm not going to talk about that at all. I'm talking about the mechanics.
Who did these leaks come from? Is it SkullZ? Because he's the most infamous.
No. These came from unknown people like on Reddit and stuff. But there's a so
those kind.
All grain of salt stuff here, okay, folks. But again, I'm not going to talk about the story stuff.
Iodized or non-iodized salt?
Iodized for sure.
Okay. All right.
Iodized.
Just making sure.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. So I'm just going to talk about some of the mechanics in here. Okay. So again, flyable spaceships, which we all assumed, right? Flyable spaceships. Customizable ship customization. You're going to have space combat with missiles, lasers, Gatling guns, etc. Okay. You're going to be able to choose from a base model of a ship. And then you're going to be able to swap out things like engines, weapons, cargo, whatever. You can make cosmetic changes, pretty much change the entire ship. Okay. So this person said, think of it like power armor in Fallout 4. So if you remember the power armor in Fallout 4, you could customize a lot to your liking. So
I wonder if there's going to be like land cruisers and also spaceships.
That's going to be interesting too. So there are basically 3 different types of base models for ships: exploration, cargo, and gunboats. Now, what this means to me, Mav, is that what we were just talking about, living your life how you want to live your life. If this stuff comes to pass and you can choose your style of ship, that means you're going to be able to, if you want to be a trader, if you just want to shuttle cargo around, you can do that. And you can do that for hours on end. If you want to be a full space pirate and you want to go raiding ships, you'll be able to take a gunboat and go do that, right? You're going to be able to create your own story. Exploration, if you want to go find the next kind of planet system, you're going to be able to do that.
Imagine that's going to be the fastest ship.
Right, exactly. That's probably going to have your engines that can give you warp speed or whatever you want to call it, right? Light speed travel, whatever the case may be. Hyperdrive, exactly. Full weapon and armor customization, like in Fallout 4. Armor is layered, like it is in Fallout. They're going to have a gravity mechanic in this game. So again, gravity is going to affect your movement on planets. You can actually, they're saying, turn off the gravity in your ship if you want to, and everything will float. So think Prey. Remember in Prey, the gravity sections? Think that. So you will actually be weightless. They have they got rid of, oh God, what's the engine that everybody uses for physics? Is it the Havoc engine?
Yeah,
Havoc. Yeah.
Havoc.
They ditched Havoc and they created one from the ground up for this game. So this is a brand new from the ground up engine just created for the gravity sections. Okay. So big deal. Let's see here. What else? I won't get into the types of things you're going to see. Let's see what else we got here. We got a ton. There's like a ton of this stuff. Now, this person says that there are multiple planets. Okay. There's also going to be moons, asteroids that you can explore, space stations. Okay. There's going to be a ton of stuff that you get to explore. They're saying that each of the planets is bigger than Skyrim's map.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
if that comes to pass. And knowing Bethesda, this is not going to be Mass Effect 1, right? Where you show up at a planet and it's barren. Okay.
Right.
Knowing Bethesda, these are going to be handcrafted planets. Now, do I expect each one to be as populated as a Skyrim? No, of course not. But if we even come close to this, let's say that there's like, okay, they're saying possibly dozens of planets. That's where I go, okay, grain of salt time. I don't believe that for an instant if each one is big as Skyrim, right? I would say maybe 3-4 planets as big as Skyrim. But even if that's the case, that's mind-boggling math. That's absolute mind-boggling. Would you agree?
It's crazy, especially, and we've seen some of those concepts of like some of the cities and civilizations that they have on some of these planets. So it doesn't surprise me that there's several planets in the game. I'm wondering how many there are that are actually populated. What I'm thinking is going to be like a mixture of different kinds of planets, right? You're going to have your colonized planets probably like that are going to be more fully featured and have more of that Skyrim aspect to it, where you're going to have your trading, you're going to have your like docks and your docking bays and like, your missions where you pick up quests and all of these things. And I have a feeling that some of these planets that are going to serve as like hub areas will have a lot to do on them, but they also may send you off to some other planets that are more desolate, right? Or moons that don't have really anything on them except for maybe some wildlife, right? Yep. And maybe nothing at all, maybe barren, right? And to either harvest or look for something specific, or clear out an invasive species of something, or who knows exactly what all is going to be involved. Maybe there's a pirate hiding out on a barren moon around a planet, and you get hired to go take them out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I could foresee all of these things, that
they definitely say that there will be a pirate hub, right? Like, so like, as all pirates have, there will be a pirate hub.
And within it, like basing on they went into a little bit about how like there's factions and stuff, and then how like you can join the different factions, and your decisions will play a role on things that happen down the line, because your decisions have an effect. But like, what's one of my favorite things, like going with the Elder Scrolls games, was like, okay, you want to embrace being a werewolf, you want to embrace being a vampire, do you want to where do you want to go? Like, what factions do you want to join? Like, how invested are you in this, right? The Thieves Guild, the Assassins Guild, all those things, right? Like, you can embrace all of those. With this, you're gonna have like your Rangers, your Pirates, and different aspects. Maybe we don't even know all of them. Maybe there's some other stuff. Maybe there's like some secret alien species among the humans or something like that, that they could have fun with or something, I'm really curious about where they're going to go with the factions and stuff, and how that's going to work out. But man, I can foresee, like you said, like I can foresee like 4 planets, 5 planets potentially, like Skyrim, like a size. But then beyond that, I can see more that have less on them, that they're used more for plot points, storytelling things, or easier to create because you're only using like certain terrain and those kind of aspects on it, right? And maybe you only have a couple things on there that to go do. Because in reality, if we were to think of realistically in the future, there wouldn't be as many planets that would actually be able to be colonized as there would be to not, right? Like, just you would have about 1 million to 1, probably something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are, but it'd be maybe even more than that. So you would think there'd be a lot of just random stuff out there to explore, right? And I think we may get some of that. Now, I don't think it's gonna be like No Man's Sky, where it's like just like zoom over here to this, zoom over here to that, zoom over here to that. I think it's gonna be more like there's a purpose behind everything, right?
Correct.
And
correct.
Man, I do the gunships. Man, that just sounds awesome. Could you imagine?
Doesn't it?
I imagine a world that, like, okay, just like they did. We want to get into really like speculation town here stuff, right? I imagine a world in the future where they take out these concepts that they have, like for Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76, and then in the future they have like a Starfield Online, and they play out these factions and stuff, like say 10 years from now, dude,
be so freaking amazing.
Yeah,
Imagine the
it
DLC they'll be able to bring to this. Another big one is settlement building will be back. To some people's consternation, a lot of people didn't like the settlement building.
It makes more sense for this game actually than any other.
It makes a lot more sense. I won't get into the details because there's a lot of details out there about what supposedly is going to be with the settlement building, but settlement building will be back, but on a grander scale. Obviously, just considering the scope of this game. And also they said much improved and upgraded compared to what we got out of Fallout 4. So again, and by the sounds of it, it'll be optional. It won't be something you have to do, but obviously to be something that will help you within the game if you choose to do it. Let's see what else I got here without getting into the story stuff. They are saying that the worlds are handcrafted by Bethesda's team. They're not going to be necessarily procedural generated stuff. They are going to be specifically placed there for a reason by Bethesda themselves. So they're not going down that road again.
As well.
Exactly. They said that Starfield's inventory system is going to be similar to Skyrim's inventory system UI, so lists, not grids. They a different whole set of leaks suggested that you're going to have a crew for your ship, that both your ship and your crew will have RPG elements attached to them as well, as far as leveling them up. They said that the system of skills are going to be similar to Skyrim, but better than Skyrim's, which some people like, some people didn't like. So again, from everything they're telling us, Mav, going back to some of the older stuff, more hardcore RPG, if you, again, whether or not you consider Oblivion hardcore, but maybe going kind of in a mix between Skyrim and Oblivion as far as the skill sets go and that kind of stuff. Yeah, without getting into the other stuff, which again, I'm not going to get into. If you guys want to go find it, you can find it. It's out there now. Again, all with a grain of salt. Obviously, modding, again, is going to be huge. Everybody knows Bethesda embraces modding. Phil has talked about bringing more modding to consoles. So I'm hoping that from the get-go is going to be something that they introduce. Again, not that we can mod on our consoles, but as mods appear on the PC version, that we get those also on the console version as well, so that we can, if we choose to use some of those mods, that we can go ahead and do that. I'm all down for that stuff. Again, that's some of what makes Skyrim the best, right? Is because the modding community made in there. And even when Bethesda wasn't necessarily putting out DLC, you were getting new stuff from the community. So that's always a big deal. But yeah, that's some of the leaks that are out there. Again, there's a lot more, but a lot of it is the story stuff. Again, I'm not going to spoil for anybody just in case it comes true. Again, for me, I don't care. I will always look at this stuff, but I'm never going to do that to another person who does not want to know story stuff for sure. That's not on me. But I have zero problem reading it, even if it's 100% accurate. Stuff I read just makes me more excited. So I don't care. I don't care about that stuff. I used to be the guy who picked up a book and would read the last page of the book. I didn't care, right? To me, it doesn't ruin anything for me, but I understand why people stay away from it. So, but a lot, bro, if half this stuff is true, if 25% of this is true, if I can customize my ship, if all those RPG elements are involved, if we've got multiple planets with land masses the size of Skyrim on them, brother, you talked about thousands of hours into a game. That, I don't know if I've ever spent thousands of hours. I mean, Skyrim all told, I'm probably 500, 600 hours between Skyrim. I don't know if I've ever spent 1,000 hours in a game. I can't think of one offhand, but man, you could be correct. This could be the game that does it. If I can go explore that much, if they're opening it up, which again, if you're going to do a space RPG, you got to have exploration, right? That's got to be a key factor, right? Yeah. And again, we just don't get space RPGs. We got great ones at least. We don't get them. That's why this could be the next big franchise you were talking about. That's another reason why I'm so hyped, Matt. You brought it up yourself. You tell me that it's Skyrim in space. We just don't get space. Yes, we've had sci-fi games. yes, we've had one of the greatest trilogies of all time in Mass Effect. That was much more of an Outer Worlds kind of controlled kind of setup, right? With an RPG, it's still one of the GOATs for me, if not the GOAT trilogy of all time. It is fantastic. Going back and replaying it again, got all the same feelings over again, but you throw in a Skyrim-esque space RPG where I can create my own story within space in a sci-fi setting that's kind of, as they call it, NASA punk, so it's realistic. But in the future, man, you're right, Mav. Thousands of hours for sure. Potentially.
Yeah. Only games I have put that many hours into are like Halos. Like, right. Yeah. And
I may have on Call of Duty back in the day.
Yeah. May have. Maybe some like RPGs as well back in the day. Oblivion, I don't know how many. I put a lot of hours into that.
I had a lot, but I only had like 400 or 500 hours.
Yeah, it was and it's hard. Like, yeah. I don't know what that compares. Like, yeah, I can foresee going over 1,000. With Starfield, because I think it's going to be a game that I play for like a decade.
Right.
It's not just going to be like, oh, let's play Starfield and beat it and done with it. Yeah, I'll boot up Skyrim every once in a while still. You know what I mean? And just like kind of play around and. Last thing I did in there is I was with my newer character. I just got to the College of Winterhold, and I'm like, okay, do I want to go through all this to learn these spells right now, or like, oh, I'm gonna go do something else, There's so much to do, man, and
so much to do, and this could be the next level. Todd's been thinking about this for 2 decades, man. 2 decades in his brain.
The other aspect of this, guys, is Game Pass. Right?
Yeah.
And now, what does that mean? I think it means more than just we're going to get the game day one in Game Pass. It's going to always live in Game Pass, right? And there hasn't been a release of a game like this in a service like that with the promise of it staying yet, right? And I think that has long-term implications over how the game can be treated by the development teams, right?
Yep.
Because I think at that point, like we've seen with like Sea of Thieves and some other games, I think at that point, updates and content are going to help increase engagement. And also, if you're Microsoft and Bethesda, help keep people subscribed and subscribing to the service, right? So I think there's going to be a more promise of DLC in the future for a game like Starfield because of the Game Pass effect, right?
Yep.
And the other aspect of it that's really promising, because this didn't really used to be something we thought about back in the day when we thought about Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, Elder Scrolls Oblivion and Skyrim, is updates. I'm talking about with like content. I'm talking about updates with the functionality and the graphics and the way the game plays and looks. I think that over the long haul, it's going to be something as new hardware is released or new technology comes out, we're going to get these updates and it's going to come free with the games that we already are subscribed to. And we're going to have these games that live on that are going to look and play great and stay up to date with the current trends and the current graphics and all of these things. So it's about forwards compatibility as well. So I think that this game like has more potential for the future than any RPG that has been released before it. But then also you look at all these other RPGs going to be releasing from Xbox, and I think there's a reason why that genre really fits, right? Because it's about building worlds, right? And I think that if you can get people invested into these worlds, you can be able to keep them engaged into them for like we said, thousands of hours, and you're going to be able to keep giving them new reasons to keep them in those worlds, right?
Correct.
So, you talk about Avowed, which is going to be that fantasy RPG, right? For now, until Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, right? And then you're going to have Outer Worlds 2, which is another space RPG, but it's like more fantasy filled,
more linear,
right?
more it's more constructed. And you got Fable coming.
Fable, which is completely high fantasy, humor, all of those aspects. So there's a path forward with Xbox here for multiple different genres within one genre.
Yep.
Right. We're gonna see In Exile's game, which is probably gonna be more like darker. You know.
Yep.
It's gonna be insane, dude. Like to see what we're getting, and Starfield is gonna kick it off. But if
And
you're an
it's current
RPG
gen
fan,
only.
oh
It's
my
current gen only
yes.
too, man.
Is
Current gen.
this the first big next gen exclusive that's going to be?
Well, Redfall could be depending on when Redfall hits, but yeah, I mean, as far as an RPG, as far as one with this kind of
yeah, I'm talking about a mega
Yeah.
game, right?
Yeah, mega game. Yes, this will be the first.
So like Horizon
current
Forbidden
gen
West is cross gen. You know, God of War
Yep.
Ragnarok is cross gen. Halo
Yep.
Infinite was cross gen. Forza Horizon 5 is cross gen.
Correct.
We don't know about some of these games coming. Like Redfall, I think is
Yeah.
going to be current gen only. But like,
Yes.
is it one of those mega, you know, games? Well,
Right.
who knows exactly where that's going to be? Like, Starfield is unquestionably going to be a massive game, right?
Yep.
And huge release. It's going to be basically stake Xbox's holiday on it, right? Pretty much. So.
Yeah. I mean, Forza could be there too. So
Yeah,
but
I
we'll see.
think Forza Motorsport will probably be there, but without that, I mean, still, this is a game that could get more recognition than something like a Forza, right? It's gonna get,
correct.
you know, because of the genre it is and all this stuff. This is the first game we're gonna get that is really at that level. That's next gen only.
Correct.
That's on Xbox, not PlayStation, which is crazy to think. That's the world we're living in with all the messaging before the release of the consoles.
Yeah, and there was a chance that this could have been Sony exclusive, right?
Yeah.
They were trying, which is, can you imagine that world?
Man,
I can't. So I'd be getting a PS5, I'll tell you that much.
Do you think it
For
would
all
be
the people-
cross-gen if it was on on PlayStation?
That's a good question. I don't know if they ever planned it. I don't think so, because I don't think they ever planned on this one being cross-gen.
Because of the tech. I don't think
because of the tech. That's why Todd said that he waited all this time was for the tech to be right. So I think this one was planned for current gen only from the beginning.
Right.
And I think that was Todd wanted to do it that way. So no, I think it would have been PS5, and I would have been going out and getting a PS5 for Starfield. So for all the people who say that Starfield isn't going to move Xbox, it's going to move Xbox. I don't care what you say. It's going to at the end of the day, whether it's Game Pass subscriptions or whether it's all those Series S's come holiday season again when they have them on sale for $250. Because
oh man, yeah, you're going to be able to play this on a Series S, dude. That's insane.
Yep.
Absolutely. Dude, like last Black Friday, I think this Black Friday, because of this, Xbox probably will be the #1 selling console. Now, you have God of War as well, right? Do we have an official release date on that yet? No, we don't, right? Because some people are saying maybe not this year. I still thinking it's going to come out this year, but we'll see.
I do think they do everything possible to make it happen, that they're going to bookend this year.
Even if it releases with a few bugs like Horizon did.
Sony can't let Xbox have another holiday season like they did last year. They know that. They know that.
I mean, that's all they got though for this holiday right now is like that. I mean,
as
they have
right now,
first party wise anyway. Like
first party. Yeah.
Forspoken is supposed to come. You know.
Yep.
You know, they have a lot of marketing behind Hogwarts, right? But like it's a multi-plat. So as PlayStation's had a great first half of this year, it's not going to be as great of a second half, much like last year, right? So Xbox is, if they have everything coming, like, I mean, you got potentially Forza Motorsport, you got Scorn, you have Starfield, Redfall. And there's some more in there too. I can't even remember, but like, it's pretty stacked 6 months there. And I'm sure we're probably going to get a couple of announcements as well.
Oh yeah,
for things that we didn't know about. We didn't even know about Forza Horizon 5 until E3 last year. I mean, we all speculated, and it's like, hey, it's coming, kind of like we're doing with Forza Motorsport right now, you know. But there was no official announcement or anything until E3.
I just think we would have had Stalker 2 too, but I don't think that's coming.
No.
So unfortunately, that would have been huge too, because that was December, and I was really looking forward to that for sure. So, but obviously, 2023 is fine, or whatever they get out then. Whenever they get it out, I really don't, whatever. Like I said, we've got so many games now. The people that complain, I can't understand. I
Yeah,
can't,
lots more
because
important
there's so
things
much.
going on over there right now than
Yeah.
making video games, right? So
Correct. Yes.
yeah, dude, it's just freaking loaded, man.
But yeah, so if you guys
again,
can't
all I
all
can think
tell,
about
we're
is
hyped.
one. All I can think about is
Yeah.
one game though. It's still Starfield. Like
it's
all these other things
Starfield.
are coming are for me
Yep.
like steps till Starfield, right?
Right.
It's like games to play till Starfield. It's like to have Starfield on the map. It is my end goal, and everything I'm doing until then in life and in gaming is just the lead up to Starfield.
Correct.
Every day I
That's
go
right.
to work. It's just another step to Starfield.
I tweeted that out. I said the only date left on my calendar for the rest
Yeah.
of the year is 11/11/22. Right. So that's it. That's it. I've got my time taken off. Think, Mav. I mean, the other ace up the sleeve too is if Xbox gets the Activision Blizzard deal done before the end of the year, and they can announce the new Call of Duty and Game Pass on top of it, Modern Warfare 2. Bro.
Well, remember Aaron Greenberg said there's an interesting thing announcements coming.
Yes, because they can still make deals. They can still make deals. They got to run business as usual, so they can still make deals. Yeah, OFK, Jasper, you're right. Game of the year, OFK, but we don't have a release date yet.
Yeah.
I need a release date for that.
11/11/22.
I'll take time off and go buy a PS5 for OFK.
Will you take a step away if it releases on 11/11/22 just for some We Are OFK? I mean, you're gonna like it's gonna be
Don't do that to me.
Your time. You know,
I'll have sweats, Mav. I will be sweating. I won't know what to play.
Well, you have two displays. You'll be playing both at the same time. You'll be like jamming out to We Are OFK and then like traveling.
I may have to go steal one of the other TVs. Yeah, I might have to go steal one of the other TVs. But that means I also have to get a PS5 if OFK launches this year.
But you know, it's like I said,
Shizno, you don't know about OFK? Come on. Go back, go type in OFK and go watch the release.
It's called We Are
OFK.
We Are OFK.
Yeah. We Are OFK.
For me, it's Volcano High, you know.
The two heavyweights going at each other this year, hopefully. Although we haven't heard anything about Volcano High.
I'm hoping it's not scrapped. I mean, I'm starting to get worried. I'm gonna have a show, Where is Volcano High? Just like we did on Fun Pop, where it's like, where is Gotham Knights? You know? The next day they drop the release date. Maybe if we do Where is Volcano High, you know, and maybe I can have like a show about dinosaurs and stuff, and you know,
dinosaurs in high school,
dinosaurs and teenage drama. You know, like we just embrace all of those things. Maybe we can like create a release date to be dropped the next day, right?
Shizno, be prepared. Be prepared for greatness when you go watch We Are OFK teaser trailer. Be prepared.
Yeah.
Your mind will be blowing, right? You will not believe that Sony is not just nonstop advertising for We Are OFK.
Well, I have an idea.
It's exclusive.
I have an idea. What if they try and meet us in the middle? And they do like an orange box situation where we get two games in one. And we get We Are OFK and Volcano High edition. Or We Are Volcano High. Or We Are OF Volcano.
Oh my God.
Or now how about just We Are High?
We Are High? Oh God.
That would be better.
Look, that would be the greatest marketing campaign of all time. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, it's going to break sales records if they ever decided to do that.
Yeah.
So they could never produce enough PS5s with that release. Ever.
Yeah, We Are High. Love it.
Look at us. $1 million ideas every show. Telling you. Bigwigs need to start watching us.
I guess they're doing a state of play every week now.
Yeah, I know. That supposedly, did you see that leak too with the upcoming shows? Did you see that at all?
No.
There was another leak, and supposedly there is another state of play coming out.
For Ghostwire?
No, not for Ghostwire.
They just did one for Ghostwire, actually.
Yeah, they just did one for Ghostwire.
That's coming out in April, I think.
God, what was it? I saw it. God, where did I see it? Was it Idle Sloth? I can't remember. Who had it? I think it was Idle Sloth. Let me look for it real quick. Let me see if I can find it. Somebody had it though.
Maybe it's going to be about our games.
No, they didn't have any Xbox. Did they have an Xbox show in there? Can't remember.
No, I mean the We Are Volcano High.
We Are Volcano High. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. No, it wasn't.
PSVR, Jasper says.
Oh yes, PSVR 2. Yes, that was another one they're going to have. They're going to have PSVR 2 devs show off some of their upcoming games for PSVR 2. So that is coming all within the next month here, next 30 days. Like they have a bunch of them planned.
I feel like
So
they
it's
just
kinda
had a
good.
state of
Looks great.
or some kind of PSVR event, didn't they? Like a month
No,
ago?
they announced PSVR
Okay.
2. Remember that was the announcement. They
yeah.
did that. They did it at the big tech show. What's it called? I always forget it
CES.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got
So
that's when we got the Horizon VR trailer.
correct,
Or whatever, right?
correct. That was the only basic game that they showed. So they're gonna highlight some more that are
Right.
coming.
Are we? So
yeah,
we're
that's
gonna
be
probably
awesome.
get an announce like a price at this next thing. You think?
Maybe. Unless if they're ready to launch. Now I heard some rumblings that it's not coming as soon as everybody thought it was going to, potentially due to the hardware, being limited. So some people said that it might be next year before we hear anything official about PSVR 2 launch date wise and price point wise.
Oh
But
wow.
we'll see.
Well, why would they have a
Yeah.
state of play over PSVR soon then?
That's what I'm saying. Unless
Yeah.
I imagine holiday, they want to get it out by holiday. So to sell. So that's the only thing I could think about. Yeah, Shizno, Ghostwire being exclusive. I understand. Like I've always said, I understand why Phil and his team honor contracts. It's messy to go and undo those contracts in a lot of different ways, just from a PR standpoint. I understand completely, Shizno. If I was Phil, I'd be Mr. Cutthroat in a lot of these things. Okay, so it would be no. we ain't friends. I ain't honoring anything.
Yeah.
So I totally get your feelings. I am too. But I can't wait till Ghostwire Tokyo comes out next year. And look, we get Deathloop later this year. So you know what? That's another game that I know you played some of it, Mav, but that's a game I've been looking forward to. So that's another game I have coming out this fall. It's crazy. It's crazy. And next year we'll get Ghostwire Tokyo in the spring on top of all the games first party wise that Xbox is going to have, which we should have at least 2 games next spring into summer. So next year will not be a light year up front. I imagine Avowed is going to be ready to rock and roll next spring. That's my biggest guess right now. I said Avowed holiday 2023 because of Starfield and holiday. I said my plan for Phil, or my guess on Phil's plan is at least 1 big RPG per year. Some years they're going to wind up getting 2. I think for 2023, it's Avowed. And I was saying holiday for Avowed, but I think it's ready to rock and roll. And I think that they're going to push that out. That's going to be one of the big games coming out spring of 2023. We'll have Avowed, which would be crazy to have Starfield in November. And let's say we get Avowed in March next year or February. Yeah. That's going to be insane.
There's also that As Dusk Falls game.
Yep.
We'll probably get that like either at the end of this year or early next year. Let's see. What else is there? There's Contraband could be earlier in next year potentially as well.
Yep. If it's not ready this year, then early next year. Yep.
Then let's see. Hellblade 2.
Interesting news about Avalanche. Did you see that too, by the way, Matt? Speaking of the Avalanche, that not WB's Avalanche that making Hogwarts. Okay, that's a different Avalanche, but the Avalanche that is working with Xbox on Contraband. Just came out this week that the founders actually left and have created their own new studios.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, the brother founders.
Why they would have done that?
They came out and said that they did not like being beholden to the investors, that they found themselves not having creative freedom anymore and being told what to do. So they left with different parts of the team, and some people have already joined them and they formed their own new studio, which is interesting, which is very, very interesting considering the rumblings that, maybe Avalanche was applying to be acquired by Xbox. Very, very interesting.
Right. Maybe it's something the investors want.
Maybe. But so Avalanche has changed a little bit. Yeah. So Snowballed, is that real, Nix? I did not see the name of that studio. Thank you for that. If that's real, Snowballed, huh? Interesting name.
That's a dumb name.
Matt,
I'm sorry. Sorry. Snowballed?
No hype killing.
I'm sorry. Hey, you're gonna like sit around in your boardroom and like with your buddies, like we're gonna create.
Yeah, we've been snowballed. Oh, you kid? Oh, okay. Thanks, Nick.
Okay.
All right. Good.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. It made sense because of the avalanche thing. I was like, is that real? Like, I hope it's not real. That's so stupid if it's real.
Oh.
But what do you think? When do you think the like? Yeah, I know Jeff Grubb said that July Xbox is gonna have a show. He
June.
thinks June.
Yep, regular E3 time. He thinks.
Right. So that's like mid-June. You know.
Yeah.
Kate loves it because it's like right around her birthday every year. You know.
Right.
And she loves that. You know, on her birthday, I'm sitting there watching like E3 stuff. You know.
Yeah, Grubb said they've already started contacting partners to get things together. So he said it's like when Grubb said it that way, he's like, because Special Nick said he heard of a May show.
Yeah. And
everybody was like, May? Why May when E3 is normally June? And then Grubb came out with his and said, no, or he said, I don't know. Maybe they still do have some type of May show for some reason. But June, I know that they're locking down and they're calling, partners to get things lined up. So the June show is happening for sure. My guess, Mav, was if there is a May show, what if they're doing a Starfield by itself show? Like just a whole show dedicated to Starfield.
I would think that would be later in the year. Closer to the release date.
But if they're ready, well, I mean, again, that goes back, and I agree with you on that because that's Todd's MO, right?
Yeah.
We know that, but also Fallout was shown 9 months prior, right? So that's like Fallout 4 was shown in February and launched in November, right? So that's again, if they're ready and they've been polishing this whole time and they don't want to, because look, whatever, if they do it at the E3 show in June, right? And they show Starfield's going to be the talk no matter what else they show. What if this game is so big and internally they believe it is, and there's no reason why they were talking about Starfield last year. Every single higher up at Microsoft talked about Starfield last year when they talked about their games. So if it's to believe, if our hype is real, when Starfield just deserves its own show, like Bethesda's done in the past, at Bethesda show, right? When did they just do it on its own so it doesn't take away from all the other stuff they have to show at E3, and they just give it its own place at May? I don't know. It was just a thought I was showing. Like I said, I'm on your side that I would think it would be later if they were going to do that, not earlier.
But did Nick say there was? He thought there was 2 shows that they had planned. I think
he didn't know. He said there was a May show that he heard about and a September show that he heard about.
See, I was thinking when I saw that, somebody had told me that he said that, and for me when I heard that, I was thinking, okay, that like the September thing would make sense for like a blowout of like one game or like what's coming soon. Holiday, right? And
Alvin, that could be good too, Alvin. Redfall, if it's actually earlier than we think it is, if Redfall's ready to go, let's say June or July, they don't hold off and they show Redfall on its own in May. That's a good thought there, Alvin. I like that one.
It could also be like something that they did like last year where they had like the accessibility thing,
correct,
as well.
Correct.
They also have, we just had like a indie showcase, but they could have something else related to that because I think we got a couple of those last year as well. So who knows exactly what they are, but like I do like that they're focusing on a big show for June. Because
so do I. Yeah.
Like that just I would honestly, I know people want like I think they do need to have some kind of quarterly thing with some smaller updates.
Both.
But I think they need to hold back the biggest announcements for like the June show. I want like a huge freaking thing in June that's just like blows us all away like last year, but better because because they are going to have even more, right? Just because they have more games announced that haven't released, and then they also have more games they've kicked off. So the numbers say that we should have even a crazier show than last, right? So I think that I just keep calling it E3, right? I'm really interested in the fact that you said that Grubb was saying that they've been trying to lock down partners. Does that mean potentially they're trying to get other publishers involved for one big unified event? Potentially,
it's possible. Like maybe some of the exclusives that they got lined up for later this year or into next year. Because again, normally that show is going to be for the next 12 months, whatever's coming for the next 12 months, right? That's what they like to focus on. So yeah, it's possible there's some third parties.
But what if even like some multi-plat stuff to like, you know what I mean? Like
maybe
because like a lot of these publishers have relied on E3 for like some of their announcements, right? Like, so what if they have like Xbox is like, okay, well, there's nobody really holding down the fort except Jeff Keighley's trying to do his thing, which is still going to be a thing that exists, and Xbox is probably going to have something there as well. But like,
well, we talked about that on RDX because EA already announced they're not doing the show, right? So somebody like EA is going to probably wind up piggybacking off of other shows, partners. So yeah, that's certainly.
Could that make this?
Excuse me, that's certainly a possibility.
Could we see a potential third-party show from Xbox and a first-party show? Because that's what we got kind of before in 2020?
Yeah.
Right. We got the whole future next-gen gameplay showcase, and it's all like third-party companies, right? And then then we got the E3, which was like, the reveal of several games like Fable and Avowed and stuff like that, right? So maybe we'll see something similar to that, except way better because they have more time to prepare.
Yeah.
Right. And they have more stuff to show.
I agree, and I think it'd be huge. Again, I want a combination of both. I want the big show. I want them to have an E3 type style presentation each year. I want them to use the Game Awards like they've been using the Game Awards. I think they do a fantastic job with that.
The last few years.
Been killing it, and I don't think that's going to stop. I think that's some of their best response they've gotten out of any type of award show is from the Game Awards, and I think they know that. It's got such a wide audience. No matter what you think of Keighley, again, millions of people show up each and every time to watch that show. It's a perfect place. So I want them to continue to do that, but I'd love the state of plays like Sony has for the smaller games and third party, partners that they're working with for those types of games. Last state of play, again, I know a lot of people were down on it, but I don't go into state of plays expecting home runs. I go into expecting to see new stuff, smaller stuff from third parties. And they said it was going to be Japanese developed focus this time around. And that's exactly what we got now. And for me, that was a great show. Again, as much as I hated that Capcom did a dinosaur game that is not Dino Crisis, right? That game right there still looks cool to me. It looks like Anthem meets Second Extinction. Okay, that's what it looks like to me. Exoprimal is the name of it. I don't know if you saw that one, but that brings me back to the 360 days, man.
Yeah.
Capcom is introducing a new IP that's wacky, weird. Again, hordes of dinosaurs dropping out of interdimensional spaces, like out of the middle of the sky, is weird and wacky. Those are the 360 days, man. That's when we got those types of crazy new IP. I was happy and excited to see that, right? And then we got a bunch of other cool showings. We got to see more of Trek to Yomi, which we saw also again at the ID at Xbox, which is looking fantastic. We got to see all this stuff. And then Square Enix shows up, one of their main partners. They show off one exclusive in Valkyrie, another in the Valkyrie series, which is great, which I'm disappointed is not coming to Xbox, but not unexpected. But then we also get Dialfield, right? Dialfield, however you want to say it. A brand new tactic style strategy game from Square Enix. And guess what? It's coming to Xbox later this year.
Yeah.
Bro, that made both you and I happy, didn't it? That's why I love the state of plays, because I go into each state of play. It's in its own vacuum. I don't judge it against other ones. And I look for things as a gamer that I'm interested in. And there was a lot in that show I was interested in, right? And that's what I want from Xbox to do. Those little shows a couple times a year with the big shows as well to show off the heavy hitters, right? To really explode. I'm all about that. I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I just can't wait for June to see.
I know. It's
last year was insane. We're going to have another one like that. Maybe we'll have another show with, maybe we'll be able to get Steel on there again,
Yeah, it'll be a great time to sit around and talk again, man. It's going to be, because Xbox is going to bring it. They got a lot to live up to after last year's show, but they've got a lot to Lot to get. I mean, again, when was the Kojima deal's done? Yeah, I know there's people in this chat that aren't Kojima fans. That's cool. I don't care. That's fine. I understand why not every game from him is for everybody, and a lot of people just don't like his games. That's cool. But he's a big name, and if they showed that, if they announced that deal, oh my God, the internet's going to melt down. It's going to be fantastic.
Freaking golden age, man.
Golden age of gaming is here, people. Man, we have been doing this for 2 hours and 20 minutes. We spent the last probably about 30 minutes just chit-chatting as we would in the chat, because you and I haven't talked for a long time. Chat, you guys are all amazing. Everybody's still here. Jasper, General Spartan 27, Shizno, Alvin, Fifth Horseman B. Who else we got in here? Vic the Click is still hanging out with us. Nix is still here, of course. Pixelbit G jumped in here. Great to see you, brother. Thank you for dropping in. Tando dropped in here. Who else we got in here? Skato Lights is in the house. I hope I pronounced your name correct. Good to see you dropping in here. Who else we got in here? Man, you guys have had some great conversation. Jesse B still hanging out with us. Great to see you as well. Splendivorous showing up. Always good to see you, brother. Thank you for being here as well. Everybody who's still here. Look, thank you all for joining us tonight on PM the PM on St. Patrick's Day. We appreciate you dropping in after our week off. Nothing but love and respect for all of you for doing so. Mav, you got anything else you want to touch on?
No,
you're good. Okay.
Just thanks everybody for sticking with us. You know, while we're more sporadic, we've been more sporadic on the schedule and stuff lately. Appreciate everybody. It's awesome to see that, you know, you guys still show up and love hanging out and checking out the show.
Andrew Cullinane, I'm sorry that YouTube did not give you notifications. I know how that is, man. That happens to me a lot too. That's why I just always set up those reminders and do the best you can, man. But we appreciate you jumping in, even if you got the late one. That's still cool. Razor NZ, I see you. Tony Grasso, I see you still hanging out with us. Thank you all for being here, friends. Well, look, we've had a great conversation. Again, the news has been all over the place. It's been a lot of little stuff, but a lot of cool stuff happening still. Again, we've gotten to see a lot of new games, and this is March. Like, go back, and I know Xbox has been quiet after the Activision Blizzard deal. I get that. I know a lot of people are saying, where's Xbox? I get that. But man, a lot of third parties have been showing up with a lot of cool stuff. We're only in March, folks. We haven't even hit the big time yet. When it comes to summertime, that's when things really start ramping up, as we all know. And to have as much happen between January and March as we already have, bro, this again, golden age of gaming is here. This is the time of our lives to be gamers. I'm so happy to be sitting here with my brother from another Mav and be able to discuss this stuff and having you all hang out and chat. Having great discussions in there. We appreciate you again so much for being here. PM the PM. Mav, tell everybody what's going on, because, you know, a week off, they've probably forgotten about all your shows, right? We're starting over from scratch. You're probably going to have to build up your base again, right? So
Hi,
tell everybody what you got going on, brother.
Hi, everybody. My name's Mav, and I'm trying to run this YouTube thing. It's called Fun Speculation, and we're just going to have fun talking about thank everybody for tuning in. Appreciate you. Tomorrow, it's Xbox Ultimate Podcast. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, with some amazing panel members, the family. Saturday's Fun Speculation Podcast, FSP. That's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern. With Key and Fuzzy Belvedere, going to have a blast. But always, you can check out when we go live on Twitter. If you just follow Fun Speculation on Twitter, you can see. Before we go live, usually make a post, and then we go live, and you can see a lot of the streams actually on Twitter as well. And then if you hit the notification bell here on YouTube, sometimes it works. Apparently, not all the time, but sometimes it will tell you when we go live. Hit the like button, share it out. You know, appreciate all the support from everybody. But yeah, gonna be hopefully streaming some games some this weekend too. I'm hoping to have some time at night to do that after some of our shows, and looking forward to that. I want to try Tunic. I want to try Shredders, and then some other games I haven't got to play. So, but yeah, thanks everybody. And hey, Pong Soul, what about you, man? That you went from one show last week to doing like a full slate this week? Is that how it's going?
Yeah, that's how it's going, man. Crazy last week. So yeah, man, I did the shop and that was it. This week I've already got an extra show in. I was on RDX on Tuesday night. So shout out the dealer and the crew for giving me the invite, man. Fonz is still feeling out in the weather, under the weather. Fonz, I know you listen to the show sometimes, brother. Hey, man, keep getting better, man. I know life is kind of kicking your butt right now in a lot of different ways. I've been seeing your tweets, man. Just, you got the right attitude, man. Keep hanging in there, and I hope you keep feeling better. For sure. Fonz is a great member of this community. So yeah, I got the guest appear on RDX on Tuesday night. So we're back to a full slate plus some. So yeah, tomorrow night, obviously, like Mav just said, I will be on Xbox Ultimate. I probably will be a little bit late, as has been the norm lately on Fridays, just because of work. But I will be showing my face.
Your dog's got into a fight, also. Remember?
Yeah, the dog. I came home and the dog's got into a fight, and we're torn. Yeah, we now have a dog we call Scar. That's her new name now because her nose is scarred for life. But she's feeling better. But yeah, yeah, also work has just been, Fridays has turned into a complete shit show for me. So I just, again, got to stay late. But anyways, Xbox Ultimate tomorrow night, back at it. Saturday morning, living split screen. My brother from another Steel Rain and I, we missed you all. Everybody who joins us on Saturdays. I know a bunch of you in here do join us on Saturdays. Hey, if you like this format, and you have not checked out me and Steel on Saturday mornings, and I know Saturdays are Saturdays, right? I get it. A lot of stuff to get done. Have us on in the background. Steel and I are on for 3+ hours on Saturday mornings. We're going to cover the entire industry. We got 2 weeks worth because we had to take last week off because Steel obviously was celebrating the wife's birthday, which is, again, real life always comes first. But we missed you all. Steel hit me up in the DM Saturday morning, was like, man, this doesn't feel right. I miss Saturday. I was messaging him back. I'm like, yeah, me too. So join us. Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word. Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time. Okay, find us, join us, tell a friend, tell whoever, family member, I don't care. Put us on. Steel and I are going to have a great time. Like I said, it's a lot like what Mav and I do right here, but we cover, well, we don't always necessarily get to a lot of topics, but we have rants. Steel and I get emotional on there. Look, just come by, stop in and join us. Living Split Screen Saturday morning. And then Saturday night, the Shop Podcast. That's over on PTK Blam's channel. So look him up. It's PTK Blam. Myself, PTK Blam, Fuzzy. And this week, we got brother from another who just showed up in the chat. Psychonauts will be joining us on the Shop Podcast. So we're going to have a blast. Yeah. So Shop Podcast starts at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. It ends your Saturday night. It's a chill show. We just have really great discussions, really great guests. Again, Psychonauts will be on there this week. So please join us over on the Shop Podcast Saturday night. Then back at it Tuesday, Xbox Factor Podcast. Mr. Boomstick, Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. You all know him or should know him by now. Please drop on there. Mav is always there if he can be. I'm there most Tuesdays, but that's getting kind of weird too on Tuesdays. But I will be there this week if everything goes as planned. 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. We've got Archimedes when he's available. Mr. Joanna Dark, who was in this chat earlier, may still be listening. Shout out to you, brother. And VJ has now joined us there as well. Great show. All things green. Xbox Factor, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central, Tuesdays. Back here next week, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. Real life willing, we will be here. Hopefully, we got some more good stuff to talk about coming up this next week here. So, love you all. Thank you again for joining us. We love each and every single one of you because you make this show go. Wouldn't be here without you. PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. March the 17th already, St. Patty's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you. And we will talk to you next week. Mav, you got a super chat there for us, brother?
Yes, sir. Speaking of making the show go, thank you to Vic the Click for helping the show go. Appreciate generosity and support with a $5 super chat. Said, wait, you guys got more than one podcast? Great episode, guys. Can't wait for tomorrow night and Saturday morning. Flex. Hey, I love it, dude. Thank you, Vic. I appreciate everybody.
Love you, Vic.
Hope you guys have a fantastic night. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Play what you love what you play. Golden age of gaming. Don't forget it.
Sweet Tarts rock.